levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit revivemenshealth.com.
When you speed, you have less time to react. Follow the speed limit to keep other road users safe. Speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio, KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle, Northwest News. This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by ZipRecruiter.
I'm Cammie McCormick. The death toll in Texas is at 120, with 160 people missing. The work to find flood victims isn't getting any easier. Fire official Razor Dobbs.
There's massive debris fields, some 50 feet high, 300 feet long. Now, since we have a little bit of drying out, we can get some heavy equipment to where we can start picking through these debris fields.
They're urging private citizens not to do so on their own because victims may be trapped in that debris. As for what precautions had been taken for severe weather and whether camps in the area were alerted, many of the victims were at a girls' camp along the Guadalupe River. CBS's Jason Allen has the latest.
Just 2 days before the flood swept through, state inspectors signed off on the camp's emergency disaster plan. Now, that required that they have a disaster plan, that they have an evacuation protocol, and the camp met that. It was only required that they post that plan in buildings, that campers were instructed on it. It's not clear exactly what the plan was or how closely they were able to follow it the morning of the flood.
In Ingram, Texas, Hannah Reyna says she's grateful to have survived, but she and her kids lost everything.
The hardest part is probably seeing all of your stuff go away, you know? Everything that they grew up with is gone.
3 people were killed yesterday in Ruidoso, New Mexico, after heavy rain sent the river there rising to the highest level ever recorded. CBS's Chanel Call.
Officials are saying it could be days before services there are fully restored. We're talking about water, gas, electric power. So many residents there do not have access to those essential services.
President Trump continues to focus on ending the war in Gaza. Linda Kenyon reports.
President Trump says probably soon.
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement, an agreement of some kind this week and maybe next week if not.
Special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, has stated the agreement could include a 60-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, along with the release of 10 live hostages and the bodies of 9 deceased.
Trump sent out more tariff letters today to smaller countries, but the list is growing. CBS's Nancy Cordes has that.
Even though these deals typically would take months, if not years, he wants them completed in the next few weeks. And some of our trading partners have already indicated they want to get those deals done as well because they want to avoid these really punishing tariffs.
Chipmaker NVIDIA today became the first publicly traded company to surpass $4 trillion in market valuation. It's now worth $900 billion more than Apple. On Wall Street, stocks are higher. This is CBS News.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
A severed toe mystery. The story coming up, but first, from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. Maintenance is slowing you down on I-5, both north and southbound and Federal Way. You are tapping brakes from about Costco almost to the 5 curve. You're bogged down on I-5 southbound near JBLM. Travel time Tacoma to Olympia 42 minutes, about 9 longer than usual. And you're slow on State Route 18 from about the Tiger Mountain Summit up to I-90. Traffic brought to you by Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Buy one window or door, get the second at 50% off through July. Visit lakewashingtonwindows.com.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon, I'm Heather Bosch. A chilling discovery along a Federal Way beach has led to a search for the owner of a severed toe.
A family on a stroll along Dash Point State Park found the toe inside a small box wrapped in cloth tied together with a yellow string. State Trooper Rick Johnson says WSP detectives are investigating what they can.
But other than that, yeah, we're kind of, up to the medical examiner, somehow get a DNA match to something and go from there.
Also inside that box, a feather, burned grass, sage, lavender, and tobacco. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
A month-long crime spree is over in Redmond. That's where police arrested a 31-year-old woman who's accused of stealing over $50,000 between late April and late May. Police say she used stolen identities to drain bank accounts, cash fake checks, and buy 4 cars. Detectives say surveillance footage and witness testimony helped them track her down. A scary moment for a family in Everett after an 11-year-old fell off a dock into water and nearly drowned yesterday afternoon. An alert 13-year-old dove in and pulled the boy to the surface. The younger boy is in critical condition. Rob Sendak with Washington State Parks says there have been 23 recreational boating fatalities in the past 2 years. And
86% of those fatalities were not wearing life jackets.
Scientists have recorded more than 400 small earthquakes beneath Mount Rainier since early Tuesday.
We call it a swarm of earthquakes when a bunch of, in this case, very tiny earthquakes happen without a sort of a main shock, aftershock.
Pacific Northwest Seismic Network Director Harold Tobin tells KIRO 7 TV.
At this point in time, I want to be really clear. This is not really cause for concern.
Experts say the activity is not likely due to volcanic unrest, but they are keeping close watch on those tremors. Cal Raleigh just broke a record held by Ken Griffey Jr.
Pitch swung on, well hit ball deep to right field, and there's number 36. Goodbye baseball into the second level.
The M's catcher now has the most home runs by a Seattle Mariner before the All-Star break. Yesterday's homer was not enough for a Mariners victory. The M's fell to the Yankees in the Bronx 10-3. The two teams face off again today at 4. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. A bit of drizzle today with highs near 70. It's 67 right now in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO News Radio App. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News. It's the all-new Jake and Spike Show on KIRO News Radio.
Welcome to the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill along with Greg Tomlin. Jake Skorheim, of course, in the middle of a week's vacation with family. When you got 4 boys, I don't think no one's happier than Mrs. Skorheim to have the backup for the week. We welcome you to the show today. Lots to talk about today. And we want to open the show. Greg, first off, welcome, my friend. Good to have you
Spike,
again
is
today.
It safe to assume you have 10 fingers and 10 toes intact as we start the broadcast today?
Is this a post 4th of July request? Because I did. I came in happy and fully digited on Monday.
It's a tease to another article we might be talking about later, and another news story that is bizarre and weird.
You said 10 fingers, 10 toes.
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure all of your extremities and your phalanges are. I hadn't checked. That's
a good word. I hadn't checked. Let me tell you what I can check. No, I got them all. Thank you. I appreciate the tease. Sophia, welcome to the show today. We mentioned yesterday that Laura was going to take a little time and also recreate because it's important. It's important to self-care and vacation and relax and recuperate. Is that right?
Are you making the case for a 4-day work week right now?
I'm trying to. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a recent study. Was it England?
I'm sure it was somewhere over the
study.
pond.
Somebody did a recent study. They did a long-term study. It may have been Australia, but I think it was England, about the benefits of a 4-day work week. And that topic has come up numerous times before. I myself am a fan of the 4-day work week, 4 10s. If you're a 40-hour kind of guy. For us, we have a very, oh boy, I want to say this out loud with the boss listening to this show. We have a strenuous, demanding,
there you go,
taxing workload. No, 4 days a week makes so much sense for so many jobs. This job doesn't lend itself to 4 day a week scheduling because news happens, and it's our job to bring you our take on the city and what happens to you in the Great Northwest, not just the city of Seattle.
Let the Europeans try it. In America, we get stuff done. It takes 5 days.
But well, in here. But imagine if you're a production worker and you can run 410s, and the cost reductions in operating a business 4 times a week instead of 5 times a week, mostly with commuting costs for your workforce, for ventilation and maintenance, costs of a production area like a Boeing, for example. I'm a big fan of the 410s.
Well, it definitely depends on the type of work, too, as you alluded to, because I don't like some nurses work like 3 day weeks and just like longer shifts.
Longer 3 day weeks because they understand the value of recuperating.
Recuperation.
Boy, good thing I talk for a living, and maybe I do need some time off.
Coming out swinging here today.
I'm trying to show how much desperately I need a vacation. Everybody around me is taking vacation times except me. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But vacations are important, and we're glad Sophia's here. I'm glad Greg's here. I'm glad you were here in the audience. We appreciate you guys coming in.
Maybe you just need a drink, and maybe you just need to enjoy some live music over at the Red Hen in Seattle, Spike.
While the getting's good.
Yeah,
getting it down
while it's still there.
Good. Great segue, my friend. I was going to talk about dive bars and the value of dive bars in our lives with regard to recovering from a hard day's work, grabbing a shot at the end of the day, grabbing a beer with your buddies at the end of the day. My parents owned the neighborhood tavern.
Oh, no kidding.
In Baltimore City, where I was raised. My parents were bar owners, and from my 18th birthday on, until they sold that pub and moved and retired down to the Florida from the Baltimore area, till my mid-20s, I would say, I was a bartender at a dive bar. It was a nice little neighborhood tavern, but it could only be described as a dive bar.
But so you got to understand the ins and outs of running a small business and the day-to-day operations, and the costs and the overhead.
And the value it brought to, not just from the business perspective, from the cultural perspective, and the quality of life perspective to our neighborhood.
Hey, pub is short for public house.
That's
it's a
exactly
gathering
right.
place.
That's right. I know. Don't get me started on the Irish legacy of public houses. They had to stay open. They were medical facilities in Ireland because most of the injuries and sicknesses in Ireland were liquor related, so it made sense.
They're also weather related to the importance of the pubs. Have you been over there? It's gray.
It's gray all the time.
364 days a year.
A nice
you
warm
need
peat
a couple
fire in the corner and a couple guineas.
Through.
Yep, couple stouts, a couple glasses of the dark. We mentioned this because a Seattle icon, and it's been in the news the last couple days. We hadn't a chance to get to it, so we wanted to open the show with it today. Because I think it's more than just a business closing. The Little Red Hen in the Green Lake area has been in recent months in a dispute with their new property owner. A company bought the building in which the Little Red Hen exists, and the new property owning corporation, the LLC that owns the Little Red Hen's property now, which is RLD Group LLC, they have asked the Little Red Hen to sign a new lease agreement. Little Red Hen has had a month-to-month lease agreement for years. They, of course, have been in business since the 1930s, I think since 1939, if memory serves correctly.
Yeah, 92 years. In this specific location, I think it's a few decades. But
since the 60s.
Yeah, and the current owner has operated the business as it exists now for around 14 years.
Well, the new owner, and I'm not sure if there's not a lot of details in the story. We're quoting a story from the Seattle Times from Laura Isaza, who did the story. And she's speaking to the author of the story and the content therein, speaks to the loss to the community of the Little Red Hen, because it has become, and Sophie, I know you've got a dear friend who's a regular, who does line dancing there, who does karaoke nights there, who's part of that community that the Little Red Hen provides to that section of Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, it's a third place in that sense where people are used to going and attending. They have these line dancing nights, I think, weekly.
So that third place, I saw that term in the story. What is that? How's that defined as a third place? It's not work, it's not home, it's the next thing on your list.
Yeah, well, and it's also a place that people can hang out and have community that's not on the basis of, oh, we have to go to dinner to be in this environment, to be outside, or we have to go do an activity. It's just a space where people can gather and hang out and feel like safe and comfortable and have people they know and have a space to
place where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Greg, are you a I don't know a lot about you socially. We're getting to know each other, I hope becoming friends through a work environment. And I know the kind of guy you are, having listened to you for so long. Do you have a local spot? Do you have a third place?
Well, you know what? I actually have a lot of local spots because my band, sometimes we're a duo. So we play at small business establishments all over the region, Kirkland, Seattle, Woodinville, Bellevue, so on and so forth. And a lot of times it's not a big chain restaurant or a big national establishment. Yeah. It's a local place that can afford to pay a couple $100, and then we live a lot off tips and so on and so forth. So I have a special place in my heart for these establishments, absolutely. It's one of those stories, though, that I read and I go, what are you going to do? I mean, there's disagreements about the terms of a lease. There's apparently a verbal agreement between the Red Hen and a neighboring business about the use of a dumpster and the fees being paid for trash pickup, but no paperwork to highlight that. I mean, you have to follow the documentation. I guess the direction you're looking to go with this is, should we mourn, and is it proper to mourn as sort of this subject of a lot of these smaller establishments going away here in the area and just being replaced by more, lowest common denominator, big national chains that can afford to have a location that doesn't operate necessarily as well, but then the other stores pick up the slack for them. Whereas if you're a mom and pop shop, so to speak, you got to
make it work.
You got to meet the bottom line month over month, or you could be out of business. It is sort of sad to see because it does sort of fundamentally change certain areas, and it's a bummer. But again, I don't know what the solution to a story like this is. It's sad. I also believe that when we tout like it's been around for 92 years, you sort of have to take that in context. Is the name iconic? Sure, but it's had many different owners over years and years.
Iterations,
I remember,
you bet.
On my honeymoon, I went to San Francisco with my wife. This was back in 2007, so San Francisco was a little different back then, 18 years ago. But we went to the oldest Italian restaurant in San Francisco when we were amazed, and we went in there and had a lovely meal, and then we realized, wait, it's like the 7th owners, the menu's completely different, and so on and so forth. So I just want to bring that a little perspective to it. But what do you think? I mean, is there a government responsibility in this, Spike, here? I think, if anything, the government just needs to make it less of an undue burden on small businesses to operate in terms of, taxes and
that's an interesting take.
Minimum wage, I think, has made it harder for businesses to operate, and you're paying $35 for 2 burgers and a beer and fries, but they got to pay their employees now what the government dictates to them, and so on and so forth.
Well, there are a lot of different factors in this, in where we find ourselves with regard to the Little Red Hen. You mentioned, I understand Sophia was telling me there's a petition being circulated by the customers trying to see what it takes to get it established as a historical landmark in Seattle. One of the ways that the local treasurers, if I use air quotes, like Little Red Hen, managed to avoid progress and evolution or de-evolution of their business to what Seattle needs, is through establishment of a historic status, or historic landmark status, I should say. I remember when the Denny's in Ballard, which was at the corner of 15th and Market, back, I think it was 07 or 8, something like that, 15, 20 years ago. There was, of course, development coming to Ballard. What sits there now is a 6-story residential / retail on the ground level type business. I think Five Guys sits now, Five Guys Burger. Plus there's a pharmacy there. There's a pizza place there. There's a phone store in that block right now. That's kind of you talk about what government's responsibility is. Government's responsibility is to provide affordable housing for a population. That's why we see businesses like the Denny's, which sought historical and didn't get historical landmark significance in Ballard, or Mama's Mexican restaurant in Belltown, which sought historical status and didn't get it, and that block is going to be dropped with new high rises going up there, and that's what happens everywhere in a city on the come up, a city that's needs to grow. I mean, everybody needs to grow. You drive up Aurora Avenue these days, or along the I-5 corridor, and what you see is just new residential / retail buildings going up. Because Seattle is a city growing and needs places for affordable places for people to live. There's lots of stories about, development and housing development and affordable housing costs. There's a story later we get to in the show about developers are suing the city for their commitment that the city started, I think, 3 or 4 years ago about commitment to affordable housing when granted permits to build new housing. But with regard to the Little Red Hen, I would say that So this is growth. This is evolution.
Right.
This is inevitable. And while I love the value of a dive bar in your neighborhood and what it brings from a lifestyle perspective and the community for the clients, a third place that so many people feel toward the Little Red Hen, growth is growth. And when a developer like the RLD Group, they made the decision to, I'm trying not to get too far ahead of my skis here, but you mentioned the dumpster agreement that started this whole cavalcade of ending this run.
Yeah, so apparently a neighboring business,
Wooden City Tavern,
it was fitting the bill for the monthly garbage removal charges
and the two
for the
businesses,
privilege
right.
of using the garbage.
Two businesses were splitting
themselves.
the cost of garbage removal, right. and that's one of the factors of doing business. And the ownership group of the building, RLD, they terminated that unofficial agreement, causing Wooden City Tavern to get their own dumpster agreement, and now Little Red Hen to get their own dumpster agreement. That's going to cost, according to the owner of Little Red Hen, $40,000 a year. And you mentioned how hard the city is.
Crazy expensive.
It is. It's nutty expensive. That's why guys go into like a co-op on a dumpster. And the ownership group made that go away because I think the ownership group is trying to price out this small business, because I guarantee you that Little Red Hen's like a one-story building a block off of Green Lake. There's going to be surrounded, it's a canyon around there, surrounded by 5-6 story buildings that are residential. And I think that's what's coming for the block Little Red Hen sits on. And nothing anybody can do, despite the love for the community and the business with its 90-year history, it's inevitable.
It's a bummer.
It is.
I grew up on the east side around Kirkland, and I remember the old Totem Lake Mall. I remember Totem Lake Cinemas. I saw Jurassic Park there when I was 12.
Yeah.
Still have fond memories of that. The Eagle Hardware and Garden right there. I remember in the Totem Lake Mall there was like baseball card expos back in the day, and I was sad when it went to ruin basically.
It became a ghost town.
Totem Lake now is like crazy booming with dynamism and businesses and imports coming in and Salt and Straw, and it reminds me of Ecclesiastes 3. To everything. There's a season.
I was a bird.
That's
Ecclesiastes?
That's Ecclesiastes.
That's the birds.
Yes, the birds ripped it off from, I think, Pete Seeger, who ripped it off from Ecclesiastes.
Steal from the masters. You always steal from the masters. So I think, as heartbreaking as it may be to the community, and I guarantee, and I respect that it is, it's important to have a good watering hole, a good third place.
Well, because it's also getting more challenging, because you mentioned there's a Salt and Straw, but no one wants to gather at a Salt and Straw or,
right.
I mean, I'll go get Salt and Straw. It's great. But in terms of just feeling like it feels local and it feels like your community, that is dwindling in terms of places people can go that feels like you're supporting a local business.
Right.
And also,
you know the bartender, they know your name, they know your drink.
Exactly. And there's also, I know you mentioned that the ownership change. There is power in the name. When people are familiar with something, it creates comfort and a sense of know, and it's what they know. It's their familiarity. And I mean, I've seen this with, even in my college town, we had a famous country line dancing bar that had to shut down due to COVID, and they tried to bring it back with the community at a different location, and it just never really had the same impact. You can never
recreate the past. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
But I read in the Business Journal in February that Washington State was ranked as one of the worst places in the nation to do business now. That has been a tectonic shift in my lifetime. I know lawmakers had to address a self-created, estimated $16 billion budget shortfall, but now increase in B&O taxes, new surcharge on some companies, state retail sales tax increase, and on and on and on. So I don't want to downplay the role that the state and cities play in how hard it is for a lot of these small places to do business and just make ends meet.
I got friends who own multiple restaurants, and the margin in a restaurant, not just a bar, but a restaurant, very similar business model.
Small percentage.
It's the smallest in the nation. Between the taxes that they pay and the fees that they pay, and as you mentioned, the living wage required by local officials. And I'm a firm believer that you got to pay a living wage. If you're a business that can't make it without paying a living wage, you're not a good business. That's. I mean, if your employees can't afford to live in the city that you work in, something's wrong here. But that's what prices out the mom and pop operations. And you're right. Are we going to be nothing but chains, national chains, who can afford to run on such thin margins through volume? That's the only way to stay alive. So that being said, I mean, the Little Red Hen, they're going to fight the good fight, but I don't know that it's possible to save a business, a treasured, beloved local business like the Little Red Hen, from elimination. And I wish them luck in the historic landmark status. If you can't save the Googie architecture style, was the thing at the Denny's in Ballard. I mentioned them earlier. They had this very unique Googie style architecture with a sloped roof and tall, floor to ceiling glass. It was, the architecture from like the Los Angeles airport, LAX has a lot. They're a very Jetsons-esque motif. That's what was significant about the Ballard Denny's, and that's gone. That's a Five Guys, and I love Five Guys, but it's you can't live in the past. Progress is coming, and Little Red Hen may be the latest victim of that. I wish them well, and maybe they can come up with an agreement with the new landlord to save themselves. But we'll see how it plays out. We're off and running. It's the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill with Greg Tomlin. When we come back to the show, we got a couple of things. We didn't get to a lot of things that we had scheduled for this break because that last was a very juicy topic. Let's talk about the ICE raids in White Center and the unacceptable increase on assaults on federal ICE officials, and maybe try to understand why that increase takes place and why have we gotten to a place where federal officials feel the need to and are allowed to roam the streets unidentified often, unmarked, and masked. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? We'll talk about it next. Be right back.
This hour is brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino.
The first place you turn to for breaking news.
Protest outside City Hall.
KIRO News Radio.
James Lynch begins our team coverage live at City Hall.
Now, we are told by SPD that 4 people have been arrested for assault. For more on the counter-protesters, we go to Scott Carney.
See a group of another 10 officers come down the steps.
Closures now extended from Washington closer to the stadiums.
KIRO News Radio on 97.3 FM and download the KIRO News Radio app to listen anytime.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very
calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Seattle Children's is leading the fight against pediatric cancer with groundbreaking research in immunotherapy. It reprograms a child's own T cells to hunt down and destroy cancer. It's hope, powered by science. But here's the truth. Pediatric cancer research is drastically underfunded. That's why Safeway is stepping up, and you can too. G. Scott here asking you to say yes to donating to ImmunoHeroes next time you're at Safeway checkout. Together, we can help fight cancer for all kidkind.
Are you worried about economic conditions, tariffs, and inflation? Are you tired of trying to time the stock market? Maybe it's time to take a little risk off the table given current market volatility. For stability, there's no better option than Legacy Group's Northwest Fund, a fixed return of 9%. Hi, I'm Scott Rirucka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. We've been running local real estate investment funds for over 18 years with 0 investor losses, averaging double-digit returns since inception, and we also accept IRAs. Over 1,000 local investors have invested over $250 million in our Legacy family of funds. Feeling uneasy? Don't gamble your hard-earned money or risk your retirement. Legacy Group's Northwest Fund, returning 9%, has limited openings for new investors right now.
Call 425-635-4700 or visit LegacyG.com. That's LegacyG.com. This is not investment advice. Legacy investments available to accredited investors only. Details at LegacyG.com.
Was drafted in 1999 by the Philadelphia 76ers, and that was just absolutely a dream come true.
Todd's playing in the NBA is unique. His battle with neuropathy is not.
I first started noticing problems a couple years into my NBA career, and I felt like my sock was just balled up right in the arch of my foot, and there'd be areas of burning and tingling, and then there'd be other areas of deadness where there would be no response hands to touch. We tried everything possible from surgery to different drugs to try and take care of some of the symptoms.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. Our neuropathy treatments can rehabilitate damaged nerves. We use FDA-cleared, non-surgical, non-drug, pain-free procedures that have helped thousands of neuropathy sufferers find relief.
Now I'm able to spend more time doing the things that I enjoy, being on my feet.
If you experience numbness, shooting, or burning pains, or loss of balance, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025, or click soundpainsolutions.com.
Want to cut your home energy bills, breathe cleaner air, and improve comfort? The answer, AeroSeal from Home Comfort Alliance. This advanced process seals leaks in your ductwork, improving efficiency and air quality. Normally $2,500. Right now, for PSC customers, get AeroSeal for as little as $99 when they install a furnace or heat pump. Plus, save up to 25% on remaining 2024 heat pumps and air conditioners from Home Comfort Alliance. Visit homecomfortalliance.com today.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Are you road trip ready? Bucky's Complete Auto Repair will make your car safe and dependable with expert service and old-fashioned care. Brakes, oil change, factory service, and more. No appointment needed, and yes, friendly financing is available. Bucky's.com.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch. The head of the Oakview Group, which built Climate Pledge Arena, is facing federal charges for conspiring to rig the bidding process to build an arena at the University of Texas. The U.S. Department of Justice says CEO Tim Leiweke is accused of convincing a competitor not to bid on the job in exchange for getting subcontracting work. To settle the charges, Oakview has agreed to pay a $15 million fine. The competitor will pay $1.5 million. To Central Texas, where 120 people are now confirmed dead, 170 missing after flash floods. Hannah Reyna says she's grateful her family survived, but their home was destroyed.
The hardest part is probably seeing all of your stuff go away, you know? Everything that they grew up with is gone.
Washington U.S. Senator Maria Cantwell pressed President Trump's nominee to lead the National Weather Service over budget cuts and whether they contributed to the deadly flooding.
Dr. Neil Jacobs acknowledged Trump's recent cuts, then commended the Weather Service for a job well done leading up to the Texas flooding. If confirmed, Jacobs told Cantwell he will staff the Weather Service to support regional needs, from predicting tsunamis to forest fires in Washington state.
It's really important for the people to be there because they have relationships with the people in the local community. They're a trusted source.
Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
In light of the Texas floods, King County Flood District Board Chair Reagan Dunn is proposing some improvements.
What this will do is develop recommendations for expanding flood preparedness, education, including alerts and early warning systems.
His motion passed unanimously yesterday. State and local firefighters are right now battling a 120-acre fire north of Belfair along Northeast Tunerville Drive. There are Level 3 Get Out Now evacuations. About 50 homes are threatened. Norma Brock is with Mason County Emergency Management.
Crews are using heavy equipment such as dozers and excavators to try to build fire line around and slow and stop the progression of the fire.
She tells KIRO 7 TV the cooler weather today is helping fire crews. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 194 points, NASDAQ ahead 168. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk in Silverdale, a crash is blocking a lane on State Route 3 near Northwest Newberry Hill Road. Further south on State Route 3, you are jammed up in Gorst. Hate it when that happens. You are slow on I-5, both north and southbound in Federal Way. You're tapping brakes from about Costco almost to the Fife Curve. This is due to maintenance. Travel time is a couple of minutes longer in both directions. And you're bogged down on I-5 southbound near JBLM. Travel time Tacoma to Olympia almost an hour now. That's almost 20 minutes longer than usual. Traffic brought to you by KIRO Newsradio. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. We got some drizzle today. We'll see highs at near 70. It's 67 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the show. Well done, Heather Bosch. You can make Gorse a good part of any joke. It really is. The unfortunately named town of Gorse. We are now going to talk a little bit about a problem in this country, a trend in this country. Maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it's a necessary, not even evil, just a necessity in modern day America under this Trump administration. And we're talking about ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the prevalence of ICE deportation raids throughout the nation and here at home. One particular raid over the weekend in White Center was featured in a nice piece by Danny Westneat over at the Seattle Times. And he asked some questions that I think a lot of people are asking, and from both sides of the aisle, not just those who are opposed to the Trump administration and their policies and tactics more specifically. So to recap, in White Center over the weekend, as has become the norm in America, it seems, of late, a large, I don't want to say unidentified, but a sketchily identified group of ICE enforcement agents, some with no designation of law enforcement, whether it's DHS or ICE designation, into their apparel, heavily armed, coming in a weaponized, sometimes unmarked, sometimes weaponized vehicles that are making these ICE raids with face coverings, come in and raid a local business. Has been the well-documented case across the nation. It's what led to the protests / I'd call them riots. When you're burning things in the streets, that's a riot in Los Angeles. And the question asked by Danny Westneat is, are these tactics being employed by Department of Homeland Security, HSE, Homeland Security enforcement officials, which we saw taking place in Lake New Jersey and other locations, and here in Seattle at White Center. Not White Center. I said Westlake earlier. I meant White Center. Pardon me. That's a complete mix-up. In White Center over the weekend. Is this what was promised to us during the campaign of the illegal criminal element of illegal immigration being taken from our streets, which I think everyone can agree is a good thing and we all support? Getting the criminals out of here, the drug cartels out of here, all these things. That's fine. But in Danny's piece, it's mentioned that the food lady, a local who is a food vendor in White Center, one of many, was swept up in this ICE raid by officials who were undesignated, unlabeled, masked, through force, thrown into an unmarked vehicle. How is that who we are as Americans, Danny? And by the way, Danny Westneat reached out to Homeland Security and ICE for clarification about these teams of ICE agents who come in to do these raids, and they've been all over the place. We've seen them everywhere. And so far, no response. Is this where we are? Is this where we want to? It's clear it's where we are. Is it where we want to be?
Very, very important issue, and it must be looked at in context. Because I, like you, abhor the sight of masked men going after people on the streets of America. I mean, it conjures up images of Putin's Russia and the clampdown on protesters in Moscow. And I get enraged when I see masked law enforcement officials hurting and apprehending peaceful protesters, over in Russia. And I hate to see the optics of it and make comparisons in that way. And then on the other hand, I say, is this a necessity? We need to gain some perspective on this in light of a story from July 4th where 11 people were arrested in Texas over a planned ambush on an ICE facility in Alvarado. Officials say 10 to 12 individuals in military-style clothing fired fireworks to lure officers out of an ICE building, while a gunman in the woods shot a police officer in the neck. 10 suspects, mostly from North Texas, are charged with attempted murder of a federal officer. I mean, that's a wild story. So the sad fact of the matter is these officers who are carrying out their duties on behalf of the federal government, I think in a lot of cases, fear for their lives because of violent opposition to them doing their jobs. And so they think they might get doxxed. They think their families or themselves, they might be in danger if my identity were to get out. And really, I'm just carrying out orders from the executive branch of the government here. And so it's sad, but then I ask, but is it entirely necessary? It might be, Spike. I don't know.
To be masked to perform this operation.
push back on that, the notion that I'm positing there.
The argument against that is law enforcement, and it's made in Danny Westneat's piece. I've heard it made in numerous places. I've heard it made on this radio station. Law enforcement officers do their job under threat of violence on a regular basis. None of them wear masks. There's protective gear, there's body armor, there's helmets, there's all the things. With regard to the doxing, identity is, that's a different element to things. But is it too much of a price to pay when criminals are dressing up as ICE agents? And rounding people up. There's documentation.
But that's illegal. I mean, it's imitating an officer.
It is. Yeah. It's illegal. It's an outlier, I think. It's not commonplace. But there was a story a month and a half ago in Seattle where someone had written ICE on the side of their vehicle and drove around to highly immigrant populated areas just to intimidate and harass an immigration population. There was a thing in Los Angeles this last weekend where actual ICE agents, not imposters, actual ICE agents in heavily armored vehicles and heavily armored, I don't want to say costumes, but these ICE agents were equipped for warfare. I said jokingly, they look like they were dropping into Fallujah. They've got body armor on. They've got face masks. They've got helmets. They're carrying weapons of war to sweep MacArthur Park on horseback and in armored vehicles and on foot in Los Angeles this weekend. The only thing going on in MacArthur Park in Los Angeles this weekend wasn't an anti-ICE protest. It wasn't a potential situation that could get out of hand and become a riot. It was a kids' summer camp, and it was just a show of force and intimidation, according to Mayor Bass of Los Angeles. This is who they think we are becoming, is a federalized secret police nation in which officers come up and grab people off the streets. They've raided Home Depots. They raided a gardener in California, was maintaining a contracted gardener, maintaining the grounds of a Denny's, was held on the ground and locked up by ICE and thrown into a detention center. He's got 3 sons who are Marines. A guy who is here without documentation,
right,
but has been here for 40 years, raised a family, pays taxes. This is not what we were promised or voted for. If you voted for secure borders, I'm with you. If you voted for getting criminals off the street, I'm with you. Nobody voted to round up the cleaning crew, the kitchen staff, or the food lady in White Center. Nobody signed up for that. This was promises made, promises betrayed.
Promises bent.
Promises discarded.
Well,
because there's a numbers quota that this administration feels for propaganda purposes, for campaign purposes, for political purposes at least. If you can say propaganda or campaign, for political purposes, the 3,000 people a day. Danny Westneat points out in his column, I don't want to take credit for his great work, there aren't enough criminals on the streets who are here illegally, because being here without documentation is a civil offense, not a criminal offense by definition. So it's just the people who are here who didn't go through the proper processes that don't get you to 3,000 a day. You got to get there through rounding up anybody.
I agree with you that I don't think this level of deportations or how swift they've been happening or at the level they've been happening was something Trump did in his first term, because I think he was a little more inhibited by an old school class of Republicans that surrounded him.
Or the laws.
Well, that's a good question. Is he perfectly within his rights, though, to execute federal law? So, I mean, I don't agree with the way he's going about it, right?
Right. I know you.
But for years, he's talked about deporting millions and millions and millions of people, and he's been elected twice now. So my point is, you might not like the way the Trump administration is handling deportations and is enforcing federal law, but the sad truth is that there have been people operating in the shadows illegally for decades and decades, and an inept and feckless Congress can't come together on a bipartisan basis to pass some kind of comprehensive immigration reform. So the executive now, with its delegated authority, is saying, okay, you're going to leave it to us. I'm going to go after anyone and everyone. And again, if it's within the confines of the law, they're able to do that. We might not like it, Spike. I don't like it. I'm more of a path to citizenship guy for people that have been here for 30 years and raised their families here.
Right. And again, it's a civil offense.
What recourse do you have? You can protest. You can't protest. Make your voice heard.
If you protest, you get shot with you get shot in the face
protest.
with
you can't block
peaceful
traffic and be belligerent with cops.
You get run over by horses.
You can make your voice of dissent be heard.
batons.
You can persuade your neighbors to vote differently or your community to vote differently, but you can't commit crimes to interrupt the business of the federal government.
Well, I agree, but I would ask again, and I appreciate your perspective on things. I really do. You're a well-thought, nuanced speaker. I don't think it's federal law to round up people who are civilly violating the immigration laws, throw them in detention centers, forcefully take them away with unmarked people in unmarked vehicles who don't identify themselves. And the reason that the ICE teams have been receiving so much civil pushback is because a lot of people think they're operating outside of federal law, not just enforcing federal law. Let's move. Yeah, thank you very much, Craig Tomlin. I'm Spike O'Neill. Greg Tomlin's in for Jake Skorheim today. When we come back, we all keep running out of time. When we come back, okay, let's lighten it up a little bit. What is a good shower? What is a simple shower? How do you define a shower? Is every shower got to be an hour and a half long? Does every shower got to be under 3 minutes? I can shower in 30 seconds if I had to. Just get the unholy trinity of stink on my body, and we're good. We'll be right back with some lighter fare right after this.
The first place you turn to for breaking news.
Protest outside City Hall.
KIRO News Radio.
James Lynch begins our team coverage live at City Hall.
Now, we are told by SPD that 4 people have been arrested for assault. For more on the counter-protesters, we go to Scott Carney.
See a group of another 10 officers come down the steps.
Closures now extended from Washington closer to the stadiums.
KIRO News Radio on 97.3 FM, and download the KIRO News Radio app to listen anytime.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hartley and Brent Wilcox on mobile pasture eggs from Wilcox Family Farms.
Hartley, you work with our mobile pasture barns. Tell us what mobile pasture means.
Well, mobile pasture is using a big tractor to pull the barns to new pasture each week, so the hens have fresh, green, nutritious grass to eat every day.
Why is that important?
Well, hens can get about 35% of their diet from the grass and bugs in the pasture. So before they pick one area clean, we just hook the tractor up and move it to fresh green grass.
And the fresh grass makes for the most amazing colored yolks.
At Wilcox Farms, we have over 500 acres of organic pasture land that ensures we never run out of fresh Northwest grass for our hens.
Always check the carton to make sure it's local.
When you see Wilcox, you know it's local, you know it's fresh.
Wilcox is the only local mobile pasture in the Northwest.
You really have to see videos of how it works.
And you can at wilcoxfarms.com.
Remember, the grass is always greener at Wilcox Farms.
Hi, it's John Curley. Longevity Medical Clinic is your best plan for long-term well-being and personalized health care. Dr. Mixon, let me ask you a question. How long have some of your patients been working with you?
And we've got patients now that have been with us for over 20 years that are in their 90s, who came to us in their 60s. The grandparents now in their 90s are living independently. They're not on walkers, they're not on canes, they're not headed for nursing homes.
I meet people and they ask about, wow, you're in great shape, you have 12% body fat and stuff. What's the secret? I said, it's not a secret. Longevity Medical Clinic has been there for 25 years. There is no secret to the fact that if you make those small changes, you avoid avoid the big, bad, horrible stuff that most of us just think, well, this is what's supposed to happen to me.
And if you're heading downhill and you don't change your direction, you're going to continue going downhill. And what we do at Longevity is we redirect you and we take you back up the hill.
So get your free health analysis. Go to longevitymedicalclinic.com. That's longevitymedicalclinic.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This might be the most surprising statistic I've shared in decades of doing local news. More than 75% of commuters will be involved in a car accident at some point. JP Pendergast of Pendergast Law with more.
What makes it more surprising? The average person will be involved in 3 to 4 collisions in their lifetime.
With accidents unbelievably prevalent, what are some safety tips if it happens to you?
Safety first. Secondary collisions are not uncommon while awaiting help. Turn on those hazards and remain in a safe place. If a bystander witnessed the accident, capture their information and encourage them to remain at the scene. Seek medical attention immediately if needed, as delaying can be a costly mistake. Lastly, remember that statements made to police and insurance adjusters can affect your case.
Collisions are more common than we'd like to think. If you find yourself in one, follow these helpful tips and then call my friends at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one's injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
PendergastLaw.com.
Planning a road trip? Plan a visit to your neighborhood Bucky's Complete Auto Repair for oil changes, brakes, AC repair, and factory maintenance. No appointment needed, and yes, friendly financing is available. Visit Bucky's.com.
Hey guys, it's Keith Dashafee from Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington, and we are not done celebrating 100 years of industry leadership. For a limited time, get $100 off every window, $100 off every door, or choose 60 months of 0% financing with no interest and equal payments. That's right, 100 years strong, and we're giving you more ways to save on the Pella difference. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaPNW.com. Thank you again for letting us serve you in the Northwest.
Welcome back to the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill, Greg Tomlinson for Jake Skorheim. I don't like to get personal with my friends and coworkers.
But you're going to.
But I'm going to. Showering's a very individual and personal thing, and it's different for everybody who does it. I know folks who shower once a week. I know folks who have to shower every day. And I know folks who shower in 2 minutes or less. I'm one of those people. I don't do long showers. My wife could spend hours in the shower, and not on a constant basis. There's a recent story that we want to bring you from. I think it's the New York Times that started this nightmare, or the Associated Press. AP, the Associated Press. Apparently, influencers are now telling people how to shower, because influencers do just that. They influence. Social media influencers become some new career that's got a lot of money behind it. A lot of people live very well being social media influencers.
Well, and anytime you hear the phrase influencers are now telling people, proceed with extreme caution.
Yeah, for me, that's just a warning sign to steer away from the story and don't click on an influencer story. Sophia, you're a younger generation than myself or Greg.
That I am.
And I'm not asking you how often you shower. I
was going to say HR.
HR spoke to me about this prior to the show.
Get them on speed dial.
Do influencers have influence over you as a younger person?
Okay, I would not say like directly on everything. I think some things I do take into consideration of like, oh, I didn't think about that, or that's a good point. And
yeah, they're not all bad.
I think that's just like the power of social media and the internet. Or I mean, you could say in journalism and stories in general, when you read something, you're not necessarily going to like change your habits right away, but you're like, oh, I might consider that.
Maybe made aware of and maybe possibly
I might
consider.
change things. But I will say there is this trend of like clean shaming a little bit on the internet, where people are like, if you don't do this, this, and this, you're not clean, or your hygiene's not at the level it should be.
I could use a little more of that, actually, when it comes to trying to convince the adolescents in my household to shower.
Oh,
Oh, my God. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I mean, I try to make it as simple as possible, but they're just not getting the message. So now I'm starting to see the other side of this.
That will happen naturally. You know when?
When they get interested in the opposite sex.
When a member of the opposite sex lets them know that they could be cleaner to be more attractive, that will be the switch that is flipped.
But to Sophia's point, there's been this popularization of elaborate shower routines on social media that include daily exfoliation, double cleansing, antibacterial soap, loads of scented body scrubs, and shower oils. I mean, that's 45 minutes to an hour right there, probably. And
if you're not doing that, that's the clean shaming you referenced?
I mean, elements of that. Right?
Like not to that full extent.
Right. They're like, if you're not double cleansing at least, once a week, then you're not cleaning to the utmost level that you're supposed to be. Or some people are like, if you don't use a loofah or some sort of, washcloth or something, you're also not cleaning yourself properly. Like, there's a lot of discourse over the proper way to shower.
Well, dermatologists will tell you that exfoliation is key, because you do grow new skin constantly. That's where dust comes from, is our dead skin cells falling away. A lot of people think that you need to fully exfoliate when you shower, and loofahs are good and sponges are great.
Do you go after every crevice, though, and every crack and so to speak?
If I've got an event coming up, if I'm good, and not just an event where my crevices will be on display. I don't mean that, but here's the thing for my view of showering is my view of meals. Sometimes I can just eat a quick, grab a bite, I'm fed. I do the same thing with showers. In and out, get the triangles of doom, I'm clean. But there are times when I want to sit down to a 7-course meal and and cater to myself, spoil myself. The same thing's true in a shower. There are times in a long shower with a balm, whatever, and an aromatic thing is nice, and you spend extra time and you do the things that you're supposed to do. So I don't think you can paint any shower like this is the only way to shower.
That's true. I will say there is one question that I have to pose to you that is a highly contested question, which is washing your legs. Do you always wash your legs in the
Trickle
shower?
down.
You think you let gravity take care of that?
Down.
If I wash the top,
okay, I've heard that so many times.
If I wash the top, the soap will make its way to the bottom. Is that what you're saying?
What I try to tell my kids to get them to not think that taking a shower is like climbing Mount Everest is just HPP, hair pits privates.
That's it. We call it the unholy trinity. That's what we call it. Yeah. Every once in a while, it takes a good overall deep cleaning. Legs as well. And again, if the more you exfoliate dead skin cells, the better and healthier your skin will be. Trust me, I live with a lovely woman who is a firm believer in exfoliation and skincare. And she doesn't look like she's her age. I look 10 years older.
You're starting to sound like a social media influencer, Spike.
Oh, no. I'm a town crier. I'd rather stand in the court square and scream at people who stink. That's my mentality. All right, when we come back, we're talking about the weather and its impact on first off, the tragedy in Texas, local wildfires here at home, and preparing for weather extremities and weather incidents, or preparing for an incident like the cluster earthquakes on Mount Rainier. We'll talk about it when we come back. It's the Greg and Spike Show. It's the Jake and Spike Show. I'm getting, come on. Greg Tomlinson all week long. We'll be right back.
Leaking and rocks are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
Now is your time to get into a new D.R. Horton home by taking advantage of its National Red Tag Sales Event, going on right now through July 20th. Stop by any of its participating communities and find select Red Tag homes at incredible pricing. So whether you're buying your first home or looking for an upgrade, you don't want to miss the Red Tag Sales Event going on right now. Discover the D.R. Horton difference at drhorton.com. D.R. Horton, America's builder, an equal housing opportunity builder.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
You listen to John Curley every afternoon? What does John listen to every morning?
Here's how I start my morning. Get my pot of coffee going, and then I turn on Seattle's Morning News. I listen to Charlie, Amanda. This is how I prep for my show, because I know those guys have, hundreds of years of experience, although Amanda looks better than Charlie. I'm going to get the straight news.
Experience matters. Seattle's Morning News. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on KIRO Newsradio, 97.3 FM, and the KIRO Newsradio app.
And now, tales of another way. You're packing for a trip. Stuffing clothes in a suitcase works mostly. But such chaos in your carry-on. Then you try packing cubes. Organization? Meet harmony. Sometimes another way is the better way. Like the new SR 509 Expressway, the alternate route that'll help manage congestion on I-5 and other local roads, plus provide better access to the ports. It's open now. Try it free through summer. Learn more at goodtogo509.com.
Roof now, pay later. No payments until 2027. 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for up to 24 months. Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors here. Since 1968, we've helped homeowners just like you get beautiful, durable roofs without breaking the bank. Book today and lock in summer pricing before it's too late. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com to schedule your free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
G and Ursula on KIRO News Radio.
You're not going to be able to stop what's going to happen.
I hope he's successful.
9 to noon, streaming live on your smart speaker.
When you speed, you have less time to react. Follow the speed limit to keep other road users safe. Speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. 160 people are still missing from the Texas floods, and no one is giving up.
You can go just about anywhere up and down the river, and you will see people walking on both sides. They're going through the trees. They're looking at brush piles. They might be out in boats.
CBS's Jason Allen. Crews are also concentrating their efforts on huge debris piles.
We know that folks are beginning to clean up, and we have large debris piles. And we ask them not to use heavy equipment to take down those debris piles until they've been checked by a search party.
The death toll is now at 120. The man President Trump nominated to lead the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration answered questions at his confirmation hearing today about cuts to the agency and whether that may have played a role in the Texas floods. CBS's Nicole Killian on Capitol Hill.
Asked more specifically about whether or not he would be willing to work with Congress on issues like alerts and warning systems. So he did express a commitment to working with Congress on that front with respect to safety, if confirmed.
President Trump sent out more tariff letters today to countries smaller than yesterday, but the list is still growing, and the deadline for a deal is near. CBS's Weijia Jiang.
We're still really paying closer attention to those bigger countries, like the EU, for an example, that trades a substantial amount with the U.S. to see how that shakes out and to see if a finalized deal with China will be signed.
The deadline is August 1st for many countries. Philadelphia has struck a tentative deal with city workers to end their strike and resume trash collection.
It's great news. Yeah, I was worried that this would go on for like weeks and weeks and weeks, and it would just create a problem for the city.
A new study is raising more concerns about vaping. More from correspondent Michael Wallace.
The researchers analyzed the mist from popular nicotine vapes and found high levels of heavy metals. So high they thought their gauges had malfunctioned. Cardiologist Dr. Nidhi Kumar says other studies have raised alarms, especially for young vapers.
Decrease in test scores, decrease in areas of memory and concentration, increase in anxiety and depression.
One new vape contains 20,000 puffs of nicotine, the equivalent of 100 packs of cigarettes. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
President Biden's former White House physician refused to answer questions today as part of a House Republican investigation into Biden's health in office. The doctor invoked doctor-client privilege and his rights under the Fifth Amendment. On Wall Street, investors were following the trade letters. Stocks, though, finished higher. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
A wildfire in western Washington prompts evacuations. Details coming up, but first, from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. In Silverdale, a fatal multi-vehicle crash is blocking a lane on State Route 3 near Northwest Newberry Hill Road. You are backed up from Silverdale through Chico now. This is going to be a long investigation. You're slow on I-5, both north and southbound through Federal Way. You're backing up onto State Route 18 now. This is due to maintenance. And you're bogged down on I-5 southbound near JBLM. Travel time Tacoma to Olympia, 45. Traffic brought to you by KIRO Newsradio.
KIRO News Radio, 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon, I'm Heather Bosch. Firefighters are battling a wildfire that's prompted evacuations north of Belfair along Northeast Tunerville Drive. At least 50 homes threatened. Norma Brock with Central Mason Fire and EMS tells KIRO 7 TV today's cooler, wetter weather is helping fire crews, but
the fire is still actively burning. Flames are being seen and it's putting off smoke.
The Tunerville fire is burning on between 70 to 100 acres and is 0% contained. We're learning more about the injuries a North Idaho firefighter sustained in the ambush attack that left two of his colleagues dead last month. A single shotgun blast collapsed firefighter Dave Tisdale's lung, broke his collarbone and several ribs. What he did next, Coeur d'Alene Fire Captain Nate Hyder tells KREM TV, was heroic.
Dave was able to alert Battalion 5 to get down and get out of the line of fire. Dave's actions saved a lot of lives that day.
Deputies say the shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A strike by trash collectors in Thurston County is spreading across western Washington. KIRO 7 TV's Brandon Thompson reports from Kent as union workers demand better wages and a retirement plan from Republic Services.
This picket line here in Kent, this is one of several. I'm told there are also some in Linwood, Bellevue, in Seattle. And so on the webpage for Republic Services, they acknowledge that in Bellevue, Renton, and Kent, and several other communities, trash pickup is impacted and not happening today because of a quote-unquote labor disruption.
The earth has been shaking a bit under Mount Rainier. KIRO 7 TV's Madeline Ottley spoke with scientists at the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network.
Hundreds of small earthquakes tracked at Mount Rainier Tuesday.
We call it a swarm of earthquakes when a bunch of, in this case, very tiny earthquakes happen without a sort of a main shock, aftershock.
How concerned should the general public be?
At this point in time, I want to be really clear. This is not really cause for concern.
So far, no evidence of any changes to the ground surface, and volcanic activity is still normal. But scientists will keep a close eye and send more updates if needed.
Change your plans if you had tickets to see Heart at the Gorge Amphitheater. The iconic Seattle rock band canceled its August 8th show at the Gorge. If you had tickets, you will get your money back. Sisters Ann and Nancy Wilson do plan to bring their Royal Flush tour to Climate Pledge Arena November 23rd. Tickets go on sale Friday. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. A little drizzle today with highs near 70. It's 69 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News. It's the all-new Jake and Spike Show on KIRO News Radio.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Spike O'Neill with Greg Tomlin. Sophia's going to be filling out our producing today. We appreciate you being here. The horrific, tragic events of Central Texas this 4th of July weekend and the continued search and recovery mission is heroic in itself, and our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to the families affected by this and the community affected by this. It's not just people who lost people. Everyone is affected by something like this. There was a story on the news I just witnessed a couple moments ago, headline, we've got family in New Mexico, pretty close to the flash flood in New Mexico that took 3 lives yesterday. One person still missing in that fire, or that flood, excuse me. The missing toll in Texas climbed again today. The now confirmed dead is 119 Texas citizens. And 161 now listed as missing. Oof. Search efforts, as was detailed in their national reporting and local as well, they're going through debris. They're going through snags of trees and whatnot.
It's a slow, arduous process.
It's a heartbreakingly slow process. There's volunteer crews coming in from Mexico to come across the border and help in the search and recovery of this tragedy. And the questions are being asked. Governor Abbott of Texas yesterday held a press conference and chose to do something, I guess it seems foreign and off-putting to me, but I'm not a Texan. I know both you guys have family that are Texans. Mm-hmm. And I understand Texas is different. I get it. You don't mess with Texas. I mean, I've got dear friends who are Texans. And I understand there's a difference, but we have some audio of Governor Abbott's press conference yesterday because he was specifically asked about the timing, the timeline, the warning systems along the Guadalupe River through Kerr County, Texas, that led to this tragedy. And this was Abbott's response to the question of accountability, basically.
Second part of the question needs to be addressed. You ask, I'm going to use your words, who's to blame? Know this. That's the word choice of losers. Let me explain one thing about Texas, and that is Texas, every square inch of our state cares about football. You could be in Hunt, Texas, Huntsville, Texas, Houston, Texas, any size community, they care about football. High school, Friday night lights, college football, or pro. And know this, every football team makes mistakes. The losing teams are the ones that try to point out who's to blame. The championship teams are the ones that say, don't worry about it, man, we got this. We're going to make sure that we go score again, that we're going to win this game. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions.
Okay, so first off, to a family who lost loved ones or loved any, okay, maybe I'm not a Texan. I don't get the value of a football reference. Maybe in Texas that speaks to Texans in a base core who you are perspective. Maybe Abbott knows exactly what he's doing. But the whole losers point fingers of blame. I was so tempted to put together a highlight reel of Greg Abbott's blame game press conferences over the last 4 years. Because there's an immigration problem in the country, blah, blah, blah. Falls at President Biden's administration justly. Of course it does. Greg Abbott spent more time blaming people for things. And if that by his definition is what losers do, Governor Abbott, I'd say take a look in the mirror and listen back to some of your own tape. Because that's how championships are made. It's not just pressing forward and moving on and scoring the next time. It's, to use a Texas football analogy, it's watching game film.
Personal responsibility, accountability, doing better,
and learning from your mistakes. What team doesn't watch film to see what they did right, what they did wrong, see what their opponents do, see what and understand what's happened before and improve on the way things have been done in the past. When someone asks about the timeline or the procedures in place, you can say it's about who's to blame, and that's a lot of people do that. Of course, it's not solving a problem. But when you assess what happened and why it happened with the intent of preventing something like this from happening in the future, that's productive. And those are valid, fair questions, I think, to ask anybody. The sheriff in Kerr County has been given numerous press conferences saying, look, we understand that you're asking these questions. These are valid questions. You deserve answers. We intend to do that. Right now we are in a search and recovery mode here. And
that's
first
a warranted
and foremost,
response.
That's
a better way to handle that question.
It really is. Not to say, blame is for losers. We have to understand what happened because, the cuts from the Trump administration to the National Weather Service or to whatever organization because of government reduction efforts have nothing, have no place to blame for what happened in Texas. But when the next one hits, that's where asking questions about what happened can prevent something, because this is going to happen again. There's flooding constantly now. As we mentioned yesterday, that seems that at least I postulated, extreme weather incidents are not going to diminish. They're going to become more frequent, if not the norm. 100-year floods, 100-year wildfires seem to be every year now. We have another 100-year storm come through. I saw a story over the weekend, actually yesterday. Ted Cruz says it's not time for political partisan questions. But when you look into the big, beautiful bill in which Ted Cruz authored the cutting of $150 million from the National Weather Service with direct regard, let me make sure I bring this up and get it accurate here, because I got the, he has for $150 million fund reduction that would have accelerated advanced improvements in research, observation systems, modeling, forecasting assessments, and dissemination of information to the public. All of those things, are paramount to making sure something like what happened in Texas doesn't happen again. And, so if we're trying to find out what happened and make sure it doesn't happen again, how about when we cut this type of funding from the systems that are designed to keep Americans safe and warn them when danger is coming? That's where accountability comes into play.
A lot to unpack there, a lot of angles to discuss. First off, Governor Greg Abbott's analogy there I thought was extremely clumsy, although, like you said, maybe it's something that appeals to Texans and they can understand.
I don't speak Texas. Maybe he spoke beautifully.
To my ears, it sounded a bit tone deaf for what the moment called for.
I would agree.
Secondly,
a guy with a heart would agree, yeah.
Let's get into a philosophical discussion for a moment of human nature. I remember vividly the wildfires in California that decimated a part of Southern California, and the immediate reaction to a lot of people, for a lot of people on the right, was to say, "Oh, this is a woke fire department, or this government mismanagement."
Yeah,
because
DEI fire chiefs.
It's political expedient to do that, right? And you can go boom right away. It's Gavin Newsom's fault, and then the left would say, "Well, this is unprecedented winds. We had 100-mile-an-hour winds, the perfect storm, so to speak, and a lot of this couldn't have been prevented." Right. And so the main job is to try to uncover or decipher where the truth is and all that, because unfortunately, the truth is a lot more complicated, and it could include elements of both sides of the argument, which I think it often does.
Yeah,
okay?
Truth is always somewhere in the middle.
And so when Governor Abbott says we need to not talk about who is to blame, well, the only problem with that is some instances there is someone or something to blame, okay? But also, human beings are fallible, okay? So we are mistake-prone. We may want to demand perfection and clairvoyance from one another and even our government, but this side of heaven, it ain't happening. So with that understanding, what you don't want to see is negligence, carelessness, and inattention to detail, right? The preventable things.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a long investigation here. It's going to take a while to uncover how this went down and the way it went down, and ask those serious questions. Could some of this have been mitigated by a better preparedness, okay?
Yeah.
But there's a sensitivity around this, too, because some of these bodies still haven't cooled here. I mean,
I hear you. They're still
searching for 170 people.
The number went up since we opened this segment in Texas, from 161 missing to 172
and emotions are running high. And so I understand a bit of the frustration from state and local officials when they get these questions from very curious media about, hey, did somebody drop the ball here? They're going, well, in due time, we'll figure some of that out. And the media is feeling like we want to do our jobs. We want to hold power to account.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
So really, it's a mixture and a confluence of all these factors, and it won't fit neatly. It won't fit neatly or tightly into a narrative that suits partisan purposes per se. I don't think so.
Do you think asking the questions about preparedness, about systems that should have been in place, were they in place? Was there ample warnings given?
Those are valid questions.
Those are right, exactly.
But for now, or for a time when everyone is accounted for, all the bodies are accounted for.
I'm with you there. And by the way, some of these victims may never be found.
Yeah, right.
There was a
Washed
story,
away, literally.
right, literally across the border. That river flows into Mexico. Some of these victims may be recovered, God knows where. But that being said, how long is it going to be till the next flood? On the heels of Texas, we have this flooding in In New Mexico, we had historical, tragic flooding in the southeast last year. Every time the season comes, and whether it's flooding or it's hurricanes or it's tornadoes or it's wildfires
or potential earthquake here in Washington State.
We've got wildfires. Heather brought us a story in the news update of the wildfires burning outside of Belfair, of hundreds of people being evacuated, of a fire that's 0% contained. There have been record cuts to the National Forest Service to fire prevention through this administration.
There were hundreds of small earthquakes going from a 0.1 to a 1.7 around Mount Rainier.
Well, that's
recently.
Okay. To focus on that, that's a great point, because it was also in the newscast. Cluster earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about wildfires, there's going to be a wildfire season every year. There's going to be a flooding, raining season every year. There's going to be a hurricane season, tornado season every year. There's never going to be an earthquake season, but we do live in the shadow of the largest active volcano on the continent, if not the world. So that's what's going to be aside from the wildfires, which we're getting now on a far too regular basis, of the bomb cyclones we get with a natural wind occurrence a year ago, it was last November, right? The earthquake's the one that's always looming over us. Don't we need... we talk about government, and yesterday you made a great point yesterday about when we spoke about politicking from the pulpit, from being able to campaign from inside churches, and the IRS saying that was okay to do. And you brought up the thing, is it the government's responsibility to feed the hungry as opposed to a community or a religious beliefs, church's responsibility? This kind of thing is what government's supposed to do. Government's not,
Which government, the little one or the big one?
The big enough government to make sure that everyone's needs are met.
Well, this has also been a theme of our discussions this week, and that is the concept of federalism, states' rights, and the federal government's responsibility, and when and where they should inject themselves. So, speaking of earthquakes here around Washington State, we've yet to go through like the big one that everybody is truly fearing, but
it's queued up.
If and when that occurs,
yes.
whether it's 5 months from now, 5 years from now, or 500 years from now, will it be the responsibility of the citizens of Washington State to address it, or will it be the job of the federal government to come in and a federal bureaucracy to come in and address it? And where is that balance? Should it be all or nothing, or a little bit of federal help, but a lot of local intervention, and so to speak? But I just come down philosophically and politically on this principle that it shouldn't be the job of people in Wyoming to fit part of the bill for a potential earthquake in Washington State. A big bloated federal bureaucracy is not the best way to handle local disasters.
Does all federal? Well, you're generalizing, and a big bloated bureaucracy is a bad thing, and I'll give you that. But not all bureaucracy is big and bloated bureaucracy. Sometimes bureaucracy is a necessary evil. With regard to natural disasters and recovery from natural disasters, whether it's rescue or recovery or immediately getting lives put back together so that life can go on, so businesses can go on, so education can go on, whatever it may be. If it's a local recovery, fine. Sometimes time is of the essence with regard to recovery. Especially with regard to floods, with regard to hurricanes, with regard to wildfires.
If time is of the essence, though, Washington, D.C. is the wrong way to address it swiftly and expediently.
I couldn't disagree more.
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes you need money now. You need federal money now. Local municipalities or local state governments may not have at all the resources, manpower or monetary, to recover from sometimes in the middle of a natural disaster. And you need Joe Biden on the phone, because people keep cramming on Joe Biden all the time, but find me one instance of a natural disaster during the Biden administration where the reporting wasn't Biden was on the phone with local officials, regardless of the color of their state, saying anything you need today, the federal government will be there to have your back. Funds, resources, you name it, we're here for you as a nation. We've had this conversation, and I agree with you that we have different perspectives, but I want to live in a country where I care about the citizens of West Virginia in a flood moment, or Texas, or wherever it may be, California wildfires. I want my tax dollars as a Washingtonian knowing that a citizen of this country can count on me, a fellow citizen, to make sure that my resources are your resources. We are neighbors, even though you're in Wyoming and we're in Washington. I know you take a more states responsibility.
States' rights.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay, but so my wife has been instrumental in kind of the formation of my thinking on this. And, you grow up with you're given certain hardware and a certain set of furniture in your mind, of a way of seeing the world, and it becomes pretty hardened into your mind just because you haven't experienced a whole lot. 0 to 18, most of us are in like one household or maybe two households.
You're a lump of clay being
and you think the
formed.
world
Yes.
is a certain way, okay?
Yes, agreed.
So
agreed.
I grew up extremely conservative. It was coming from the left. It was something wrong. I might not know why it was wrong, but it was wrong because it was coming from the left.
I hear you. And a lot of people
so
feel the same way.
I used to make broad, sweeping statements about Jay Inslee, and I would say he's purposefully trying to harm Washington State. He's trying to decimate this beautiful evergreen state. And my wife would always say, "Can you please just grant that you think he might be wrong, but he thinks he has the state's best interest in mind. You just have a disagreement about how to go about doing it."
Yeah.
And eventually I came over to that side because that just made far more sense. So, but I would like to pose the same kind of challenge to you, which is when you talk about either conservatives or Republicans on the national level, Ted Cruz, Donald Trump trying to gut FEMA, so on and so forth, that it might be that those who are more conservative thinking are just saying, we believe that states can handle this better, not that we're these big, evil, rich, fat cats that want to take away money from poor people. We just have a fundamental differing philosophy of how to best address an issue like a wildfire, like a flood, like a hurricane, like a tornado. But it's not that we're trying to hurt people. We like when we're trying to gut FEMA, we're not purposefully trying to hurt people. We're saying DeSantis probably knows how to handle this better than people in Washington, D.C. and a federal bureaucracy.
Sure, if the intent isn't to hurt people, which I'm with you. I don't think anybody goes in with the intent to hurt people. But if you're cavalier about the result being people get hurt, that's where I have a moral issue with some of the more conservative points of view. I mean, no one goes out. No one's goal was to gut rural hospital funding through the cuts to Medicaid, Medicare that are in this new BBB, right? But that's going to be the result. And if you think people should just get over it, like Mitch McConnell said, they will get over it. Their anger over the cutting of funding to Medicaid. That's cavalier. That's morally bankrupt. And I would hope as a Christian nation, you say that
in air quotes.
It seems to me that, and I'm not talking about you in any way, shape, or form, but people who claim to be, conservative Christians are doing things that seems to me are so far against the teachings of Christianity. To care for your neighbor, to care for the least among us, to feed the hungry, to require people to draw themselves up by their bootstraps. I'm all for it. If these cuts were to make a more lean, mean, efficient government, that's great. Do it without the massive tax giveaway to the 1%, to the 0.1%, right? I mean, explain that one to me from a conservative, fiscally conservative point of view. That one doesn't square for me. When that one, I think you're serving a very select group of masters, which are the donor class.
Dear listener, what do you think? 888-973-5476. Chime in on the text line. We might read it at the end of the show.
That music just makes me want to have a brandy, Wyatt. That's all. I just want to sit here and chat. Somebody throw another log on the fire, refill Greg's glass. We'll be right back after these, everybody. Don't go anywhere.
This hour is brought to you by Insulation Northwest.
You listen to Charlie and Manda on Seattle's Morning News every morning. What do they listen to every afternoon?
I listen to John all the time when I'm driving home, driving my kids around.
I also listen to the John Curley Show, and even by the end of the day, I still like to keep my brain active, and he's very good at doing that.
John, first of all, is hilarious. I never know where this dude is coming from.
The perfect bookends to your daily commute with KIRO News Radio on 97.3 FM and the KIRO News Radio app.
Seattle home prices, well, they just keep going up, and you might be ready to take advantage. If you're getting ready to sell or just moved into a new home, now is the time to get a thorough inspection of your crawl space and attic. And don't do it yourself. You don't want to be crawling around in there. You probably don't even really know what to look for. It's Mike Salk here, and Crawl Pros will go where you don't want to, so you can know if there's anything going on in your crawl space or attic without having to crawl into and evaluate those those spaces on your own. A free inspection will let you know if your home is energy efficient and if the air you're breathing is clean and safe. Plus, there are some really great utility rebates available right now to help you with the cost of the new installation if it's needed. How nice would it be to get someone else to cover that cost? Had them out to my house, and it was a great idea. Did that free corner-to-corner inspection, found some issues. They took the pictures, showed them to me, and then solved the problem. No issues since. If you're worried about critters, mold, water damage, insulation issues, or anything else related to your crawl space or attic, call Crawl Pros or visit crawlpros.com.
Looking for high-quality assisted living that won't drain your life savings? At Care Partners Living, we offer compassionate care at a price that helps stretch and preserve your estate. No unnecessary luxury, just the support you need with dignity and heart. And if you ever need to convert to Medicaid, you don't have to move. With communities across Washington and Arizona, including new locations in Port Orchard, Sumner, Mercer Island, and North Creek Bothell, there's a Care Partners community near you. Care Partners Living, compassionate care and peace of mind. Visit carepartnersliving.com.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot doot, and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
An illegal alien from Guatemala charged with raping a child in Massachusetts. An MS-13 gang member from El Salvador accused of murdering a Texas man. A Venezuelan charged with filming and selling child pornography in Michigan. These are just some of the heinous migrant criminals caught because of President Donald J. Trump's leadership. I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Under President Trump, attempted illegal border crossings are at the lowest levels ever recorded, and over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. If you are here illegally, you're next. You will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. You will never return. But if you register using our CBP Home app and leave now, you could be allowed to return legally. Do what's right. Leave now. Under President Trump, America's laws, border, and families will be protected.
Sponsored by the United States Department of Homeland Security.
If Old Spice Deep Sea Super Hydration Body Wash were music, what would it sound like? Start with the deep sounds of Old Spice's ocean waves and kelp. Layer on the smooth, renewing moisture. You wouldn't hear any parabens or phthalates because Old Spice Deep Sea hasn't got any. But you would hear that vitamin B3 for healthier looking skin. So while your regular body wash sounds like this, Old Spice sounds like this. Sounds like it smells amazing.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Is your car road trip ready? Don't get stranded. Get to Bucky's Complete Auto Repair. Bucky's has been preparing cars, trucks, and SUVs for safe, worry-free travel for over 50 years. We take care of your car with experience and good old-fashioned customer service. For all your oil changes, brakes, AC charging, and factory maintenance, choose Bucky's. No appointment needed, and yes, friendly financing is available. Visit Bucky's.com. Bucky's, where your car feels right at home.
Steely Dan fans, Nearly Dan brings their powerhouse tribute to Dimitro's Jazz Alley this Thursday through Sunday, July 13th. 6 shows, 12 top-tier musicians, and all the hits. Tickets at jazzalley.com.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Granillo. The leader of the company that built Climate Pledge Arena is in trouble with the feds. Tim Leiweke of the Oakview Group is accused of rigging the bidding process for an arena at the University of Texas. More from KIRO News Radio's Heather Bosch.
The U.S. Department of Justice says CEO Tim Leiweke is accused of convincing a competitor not to bid on the Texas job in exchange for getting subcontracting work. To settle the charges, Oakview's agreed to pay a $15 million fine. The competitor will pay $1.5 million.
The passage of President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill last week is getting some big Washington pushback. KIRO News Radio's Gwen Baumgardner explains.
Governor Ferguson flanked by representatives from Planned Parenthood at a press conference Wednesday in Seattle.
This is about as bad as it gets from a policy standpoint. It really is sometimes difficult to find the words to communicate just how cruel and wrong something is.
Governor Ferguson vowing, despite the state's budget crisis, his plans to divert state resources and ensure Planned Parenthood is adequately funded. His words come after the GOP megabill was signed into law last week and includes a provision to freeze Planned Parenthood's Medicaid funding for a year. On Monday, a judge temporarily blocked the bill's defunding measure. Gwen Baumgardner, KIRO News Radio.
Going out of the closing bell reports, trade was on President Trump's mind today as he hosted a White House lunch with leaders of West African nations.
There's great economic potential in Africa, like few other places in many ways. In the long run, this will be far more effective and sustainable and beneficial than anything else that we could be doing together.
Before today's meeting, the president posted on social media letters to 6 more countries informing them of new tariffs effective August 1st. The first day of Amazon Prime Day sales are down 41% compared to last year. Momentum Commerce tracks those Amazon sales, says this year's extended 4-day event could be a factor, giving people more time to consider buying. In years past, Prime Day lasted 2 days. At the close today on Wall Street, solid gains. The Dow up 217, S&P ahead 37, NASDAQ gained 192. Turning now to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk, and we have some road work on I-5 southbound approaching the Fife curve, slowing you down in that area. Also causing some minor slowing on Highway 18. Approaching I-5. Right now, Linwood to Seattle, taking you right about 40 minutes. Looking at a 45-minute drive from Tacoma to Olympia. Nothing major slowing you down up north into Everett. Just those usual slowdowns right around Canyon Park and Bothell on 405. Still about a 40 to 45-minute trip from Bellevue to Everett. And lake bridges are in good shape as well. This report brought to you by KIRO News Radio. Forecast now brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Everyone a little bit cooler today with some clouds and also some windy conditions at times this afternoon. Highs for the most part in the upper 60s. Right now 70 in downtown Seattle. I'm Aaron Granillo, KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome to the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill. Craig Tomlin in with us all week long for Jake Skorheim, who's taking a week off to spend time with family. I keep saying he's trying to climb Honeydew Mountain. I hope he's getting some down, relaxing time, spending time with his boys and his beautiful wife. In Washington State, for the first time, according to a new study, from the U.S. Census Bureau, by the way, not some fly-by-night organization, U.S. Census Bureau. For the first time, the number of children in Washington State is declining, and their number of citizens older than 65 is greater than the number of citizens 18 and under in Washington State. In 24 counties have now more seniors than children in Washington State. And I'm wondering what you guys' opinion is, Sophia, for Greg. Why is that? Why are there less children? Are we having less children in Washington State? Are families moving from Washington State and taking their kids with them? Are people moving? I think it's my assumption that people are moving to Washington State in great numbers, but not with families.
I always think the why question is the most interesting. So I think it's important you're probing that. I will just put all my cards on the table and say I think this is actually an alarming trend. It's been headed this direction for a long time. But if you read Jonathan Last's book, What to Expect When No One is Expecting, I think that'll be really illuminating to you as to the potential current and future problems of demographic decline. I know this is something that Elon Musk goes on and on about.
And he's doing his part. He got 19 kids now?
Well, yeah. I mean, I take issue with that, too. Though his methodology is not my favorite, okay? But
I alone can fix this, he said.
There you go. I guess so.
Him and Nick Cannon.
Wow.
Sorry.
He believes that population decline is even more potentially catastrophic than climate change, which is actually pretty interesting. Say what you will about Elon Musk. He's not a dummy by any stretch of the imagination. In terms of the why question, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I think about why I had kids in the first place and why this shift is taking place. I mean, Sophia, do you have any theories as to why this data is bearing out the way it is?
Yeah, I mean, it could also do with the fact that less people are having children. I mean, we know that the age in which people are becoming parents is increasingly getting later in life, and there are more young adults that are living with their parents or moving with their parents. Like you were saying,
people are leaving the state and they're taking their kids with them because you can't leave behind as much as you'd like to. Trust me on that.
Or vice versa. If you're a young person and you get a great job opportunity, but you might need to take care of family, you take them with you instead of it being like you're raising a new family of your own.
Well, I mean, people are living longer. So there are more over 65s in Washington than there ever have been in the past. That's part of the equation. I think there's a lot of different contributing factors to this. I'm with you on the why. You have, how many children? You have 3?
I have 3.
3. Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. Did you have 3 children because you were worried about a population decline? You said you read the book. I mean, and I'm not trying to be facetious. I mean that really. Did you feel an obligation to make sure you had kids? Or did you have kids because you wanted to have a nice full family?
I read Genesis and saw be fruitful and multiply. No, I mean, I grew up in a wonderful, I grew up in a wonderful, loving family. Loved having siblings, have a very close relationship with my parents. It's some of the deepest, important and profound relationships I have in my life. And I had a great experience, so I thought I want to create that experience for another generation. It's been the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life, and simultaneously the most beautiful and important thing I've ever done in my life.
Yes,
I don't know if it's bad PR or bad narratives that have emerged. I mean, my wife and I, every once in a while, will dip in on stand-up comedians on Netflix and Amazon Prime and the like. And some of the topics for fodder on stage with these stand-up comedians is just ripping on people who have kids and just the glory of being single and how easy it is. And I don't have to worry about these rugrats and adolescents running around and ruining my pleasure and my happiness. And they talk about people with kids with such disdain, like oozing out of their mouths. I mean, some of the most popular comedians working today. And so it hit me like a ton of bricks the other day. I'm like, wow, the message is out that like having kids is a strain on your happiness and an inhibitor on your happiness, not the opposite. I think 60, 70 years ago, it was seen as one of the most fulfilling activities you could do in your life, and now it's seen as something that's a negative.
Well, I mean, Sophia brought up the fact that people are starting families later than ever in life. My kids and my oldest is in her mid-30s and just got married. I mean, the failure to launch or the delayed launch.
Perpetual adolescence.
Well, it's also a lot of it is due to the economic situations that this generation finds themselves in. Owning a home is almost an impossible dream to a lot of Generation Z. So maybe that's going to contribute factor. The less people are having kids because they decided to just have a life instead of being a family. To your point, it's not the priority it was in previous generations.
I was going to say it's also a cultural shift. I think it's not necessarily like a bunch of single people getting together and being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're a parent. But single shaming was very prevalent in society for a long time. If you were unmarried with no children in your 40s, you
what's
were
wrong
looked,
with them?
you were looked upon negatively.
Yeah,
and now it's more so like, hey, like I can make the decision not to have children and live a happy, fulfilling life, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just the cultural shift. But I don't think people are necessarily hating on being a parent. I think there are still plenty of people out there that want to have children and have families.
But here's why we should be worried about this, because population decline in the long run is going to result in a strain on Social Security, healthcare systems,
less people feeding into the system,
labor shortages, slower economic growth, and on it goes. Just from a very practical sense, forget the relational aspect of having a family. I think it's bad for societies.
Do you think those are great questions to ask? Do you think that, first off, I can't believe you're the only guy I've ever met who thinks the Earth has a population problem. I thought we had a population problem in the other direction. I genuinely did.
Well, that's part of the narrative that's been adopted too, which I think has led to these numbers.
A lot of the younger generation says, how can I bring a kid into this world with this climate
We're hurting
crisis?
the Earth, right?
Right,
exactly.
yeah, and there's validity to those concerns. Absolutely. Come on. Let's go back to the wildfire story. Let's go back to the flooding story. Of course there's concern. At least it may not be a point of view you or I share, and I don't think I share it either. But it's a valid concern when people bring up that, how can you bring a kid into Earth that's getting hotter by the day? The last 5 years are the 5 hottest years on record. Flooding is becoming, fires, earthquakes, tornadoes are becoming common occurrences. I can see where people would be concerned about starting a family. I think, like I said when we started this segment, about Washington now has 24 counties with more 65 pluses than they do 18 or less. It's people coming to town that aren't starting families for whatever reason. It's seniors living longer. It's the economic. You know what it costs us to have a family of 4 living in Seattle? To comfortably live in Seattle with a family of 4, it's like $270,000 a year in income required. I mean, their level of comfortably in Seattle is a lot different than my level of comfortably in Seattle, apparently. But those are considerations that people take into they think about it when they're trying to start a family or not start a family. Never even got to the fact that there are more dogs than kids in Seattle. Ugh. And maybe that's another part of it too, man. My kids got 2 pups. That's fine. Fur babies.
That's what I never understand, though, is how dogs replaced kids in so many respects in this region, because dogs are just kids that don't grow up. You have to clean up their poop for 14, 15 years. They pee outside. They're unruly. They bark. They can
are these the
barely
kids
be.
These are the dogs. Okay. No, I hear
kids
you,
at least grow up. I never understood that, how dogs were seen as easier than kids.
And a dog won't take care of you in your old age. And if you don't parent right, neither will your
honestly
kids.
Something to think
there's
about.
no guarantee your kid will either.
Thank you very much, guys. When we come back, Greg mentioned this a little earlier. We're going to talk about it. A gift-wrapped box was found at Dash Point State Park, and inside, you won't believe it. We'll tell you about it next.
The Closing Bell is brought to you by Legacy Group Capital Common Sense Lending.
KIRO Newsradio, the Northwest's trusted news source.
Get the latest from KIRO Newsradio's James Lynch.
It happened Wednesday morning just after 6 o'clock.
Experienced voices you trust.
Several people hurt after a violent Saturday in Pierce County.
Coverage you depend on.
More from KIRO News Radio's Matt Markovich.
It's as close to a veto warning as you could possibly get.
KIRO Newsradio. We're on YouTube, our app, your smart speaker, and 97.3 FM.
Hey, Spike O'Neill for Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens. About 6 months ago, I finally realized that my eyesight had become a problem for me. I needed readers for about 10 years, and I could never find them when I needed them. It was time to do something about this. And I've been listening to different people who had gone through Sharp Vision's procedures and exams, and they found themselves living better, whether it was LASIK surgery or refractive lens exchange. I went into Sharp's office in late November, early December late November, and had a comprehensive eye exam, was told I had the beginnings of cataract. And I was a perfect candidate for refractive lens exchange surgery. And I had a lot of questions, which they answered completely and put me completely at ease. A simple operation in one afternoon, simple procedure, awake the whole time. And then a couple of weeks of recovery, and I've got the best vision of my life. Not just the 20/20 vision of my youth, but 20/10 vision. I will never need readers again, and I will never develop cataract. Give the folks at Sharp Vision a call today at 425-451-2020, 425-451-2020, or online at sharpvision.com, sharp with an E, -vision.com. Official eye care providers of Sounders FC.
Whoa, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Yeah, sure thing. Say no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking account.
Wow, that's a keeper. So, where are you heading?
I'm off to spread the good news that Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
Oh, you're the best Capital One Bank guy.
Hey, mind if I get a selfie?
Sure.
Say, Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery. so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Did you know that over the past 10 years, home values have increased the most during the first quarter of the year? So how much is your home worth right now? Check it out instantly at sellwithwest.com. Sure, there are other apps out there you can use, but most of them are national companies. If you want local expertise, someone who actually knows what's happening with the housing market in your neighborhood, there's no one more local than Wes Jones. If you're even thinking about making a move in 2025, go to sellwithwest.com, sellwithwest.com, and start by using their free home value calculator to see what your home is worth. It might be worth more than you think. You'll get so much more than just a number from Wes Jones. We're talking about recent sales in your neighborhood, the market temperature in your city, side-by-side comparisons of multiple online estimates. You can even calculate how much equity you have, and even a breakdown of how your home's value has changed over time. So here's what you have to do. Go to sellwithwest.com, type in your address, and bam, you'll have instant access to all of this and more. It's fast, easy, it's local. Sellwithwest.com, a better way to sell your home.
Start having fun. Caesar Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino Resort is your #1 place to eat, drink, watch, and have fun. Keep up with your favorite sports anywhere and everywhere on property with the mobile app. Visit muckleshootcasino.com today. Scan the QR code and let the play begin.
Muckleshoot. We're here with our friend Steve Teitler of Best Mortgage, the reverse mortgage expert. Steve, mortgage rates have been dropping this year. How could that help seniors struggling to stay in their homes?
Lower mortgage rates mean seniors can now get more money from their equity with a reverse mortgage. You can pay off your existing mortgage, have extra money to help with today's high cost of living, or believe it or not, you can even buy a home with a reverse mortgage. There are many uses, and best of all, you have no mortgage payments the rest of your life.
But as you always say, a reverse mortgage is not for everyone.
That's right. Avoid the high-pressure sales pitch from those out-of-state call centers. I give you a consultation, not a sales pitch. I'll tell you if a reverse mortgage is right for you, and I always tell you if it's not.
Honest advice you can trust from the reverse mortgage experts. Best Mortgage, the VA loan experts and debt consolidation specialists too. 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
Every family has a story to tell. At Dunn Lumber, ours is about trust. During the Great Depression, trust was hard to come by. People were so skeptical of banks. Customers would stop by the lumberyard, put their money in an envelope, and leave it in this safe. The safe still stands today as a symbol of our most valuable asset, your trust. If there's ever anything we can do to better earn your trust, email me personally. Mike Dunn at dunlumber.com.
Dunn Lumber, building trust since 1907.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Steely Dan fans, Nearly Dan brings their powerhouse tribute to Dimitro's Jazz Alley this Thursday through Sunday, July 13th. 6 shows, 12 top-tier musicians, and all the hits. Tickets at jazzalley.com.
Hartley Wilcox here from Wilcox Family Farms. It's been fun meeting people at our recent egg demo events. I'm often asked, what do the hens eat? Well, Wilcox hens eat natural grains, seeds, and grass. They forage for worms and bugs, and their diet is free from pesticides and fertilizers. For fresh local eggs, look for Wilcox eggs at Safeway, Town & Country Markets, or Amazon Fresh. Wilcox Family Farms, locally fresh since 1909.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Greg, was it you that brought the story in, or was it Sophia that found the story this morning?
I think I brought it up right when I walked into the studio this morning. It piqued my interest, to say the least.
The first thing you said when you walk in, and you said, have you got all your toes? I'm like, excuse me? What an odd question to ask me. And then you told me why you were curious. Explain to folks what was found in this box at Dash Point State Park.
So, as I understand it, there's this beach in or near Federal Way, and somebody finds a little box that was wrapped with something or other, and inside was a toe.
Look, a woman.
I think a man. Did they say it was a man's toe, Sophia? I believe that they've established that at this point.
I believe they are assuming it's an adult man, though they have no verification on whose toe it is yet.
And there was not a clear incision like it was a surgical procedure, which makes me think it was like ripped or torn. I don't know.
Off.
But furthermore, there was a feather, burned grass, sage, lavender, and tobacco that accompanied this toe. And first of all, at the outset, I can't be the only person that didn't immediately think of The Big Lebowski. Okay, right?
You want a toe? I can get you a toe. Believe me. There are ways, dude. You don't want to know about it, believe me.
Yeah, but Walter.
Hell, I can get you a toe by 3 o'clock this afternoon.
All right, I know we're poking fun at this a little bit, but it's rather serious, I think.
I don't know. I don't think it is. But let me tell you why. First off, sidebar, before we move off, did you see that John Goodman got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame about 2 weeks ago?
Well deserved.
Very well deserved. John Goodman, wonderful career. Jeff Bridges was the one who, gave or presented the star. He have a spokesperson.
Was he wearing his dude sweater?
He pulled out the dude sweater they had a briefcase with him. He pulled out the dude sweater and gave John Goodman his much deserved accolades. But moving on to the toe on the beach, was wrapped like a Christmas present, green wrapping paper, yellow ribbon.
Yeah, it had a yellow string and a green cloth packaging. The man who found it was probably like, oh my God, it's a little gift on the beach.
Look at this. Wow, what did I find washed up on the beach?
If you have a theory as to what this represents or signifies or why this might have happened, 888-973-5476. Now, I think ChatGPT and AI is eventually going to kill us all, but it does serve a purpose currently, right? Well, so here's what I did, Spike. I had the novel idea of let's type in all these items into ChatGPT
before you tell me,
and see what they come up with as an explanation for why you might find all these items together. Okay. And it actually did spit out a response.
I wrote down what I think it was. But
do you want to go first?
I think it was witchcraft. I think it was a spell.
Witchcraft. Straight up.
Yep.
Old school.
That's what I think. I mean,
Salem witch trial style.
Well, I'm thinking more of practical magic type. You ever see that movie?
Hocus Pocus?
Yeah, something. Yes, a toe of dork, feather, sage, tobacco, burnt grass. These are all the things that you put in. Maybe it wasn't
put in there by nihilists.
Yeah. Or Wiccans.
Okay, Sophia, your best working theory?
Yeah, I mean, witchcraft makes sense. Jesse in the YouTube text line had said that they had a burial at sea of his dad's cremated amputated limb, and that burned sage, lavender, and tobacco probably means that someone was making peace with his lost digit.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Peace with a lost digit.
Yeah.
That's my autobiography. All right, so
couldn't have said it better myself.
Here's what AI has come up with as a response. An event that uses a feather. I didn't put a severed toe. That's where I think I might have messed this up.
Okay.
An event that includes a feather, burned grass, sage, lavender, and tobacco is likely a spiritual or cleansing ceremony, especially one rooted in indigenous, shamanic, or earth-based traditions.
Okay.
Here's a breakdown of what such a ceremony might be and what each item typically represents, and then it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, because Wiccan's an earth-based religion, right? It's worshiping of nature itself, the seasons, all the elements therein.
I will just say I'm so glad I didn't take my family to this beach in Federal Way, because my 8-year-old, he will find anything and everything and come out of nowhere with random items. So we were at one of my son's baseball games the other day, and my 8-year-old emerges from the woods with a little box. And it's like he found one of those time machine boxes that somebody
time
buried.
Capsule?
Yeah, a time capsule like 20 years ago. And he's wearing some of the items around his neck.
Human toe.
He'll come around with like, is that a femur bone or is that a whale bone? Or like, what is that? So
Look what I found.
He would have found this toe in like 2 minutes flat if we had gone to that beach.
But think of the lifetime memory denied because you wouldn't take your kids to the beach at Dash Point.
Oh, I'll just say the family that found this body part, they're going to have memories to cherish for a lifetime.
I can't wait till Thanksgiving. Open that box up. Open that box. I dare you.
What's in the box?
Well, and speaking of memories and time-honored memories that last a lifetime, we kind of toyed with this a little bit earlier, but we're going to bring it to you. A rock and roll legend performed what's probably going to be his final farewell concert of all time this last weekend, and we'll play a little bit of the video from it, a little bit of the audio from it, and have this conversation because I've never had it with Greg. When's the time to hang him up? We'll have that when we come right back. It's Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tomlin.
KIRO News Radio is right there with you.
A big story developing this morning
on your smart speaker before you head out the door.
Get the latest live from KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey.
Huge impacts for Boeing and Boeing workers.
The office, the gym, anywhere.
Water, like taxes, goes all the way down to the bottom, so it'll either come out of the employee's paycheck or the lack of raise.
KIRO News Radio. We're on YouTube, our app, your smart speaker, and 97.3 FM.
At Les Schwab, we've been changing the tire game for more than 70 years. Our Go the Extra Mile service means more hustle, less hassle. We design our own exclusive tires to give you more tires made for the road you drive, less compromise. All backed by America's best tire warranty included with every tire we sell. We're talking more unbeatable tire warranty, less charging you extra, like the other guys. It's why you get more from less. Book an appointment at leschwab.com.
The Battle of the Brands Hot Tub Expo is back. Tacoma Mall parking lot. Top brands competing for your business. Deep discounts from Jacuzzi Hot Tubs, Dreammaker Spas, Nordic Hot Tubs, Sundance Spas, even Hydro Pool self-cleaning swim spas. In stock and ready for immediate delivery. Save thousands. Hot tubs from $99 a month. Brands compete. You save. The Battle of the Brands Expo presented by Aquaquip. Tacoma Mall parking lot starts Friday. Qualified buyers with credit approval pay just $99 a month for a Dreammaker Cabana with $500 deposit, 10.99% and 144-month term. Other offers available. See us at Tacoma Mall for more details.
Spike O'Neill here. Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens gave me back the perfect vision I had up until a few years ago. Now, never need glasses again. Never developed cataracts. Been about 6 months since my RLE surgery. My vision is better than it's ever been in my life. Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens, privately owned, no corporate shareholders or boardrooms. Dr. Sharp built his business on the principle of always strive to overaccomplish, never overprice. Call 425-451-2020 or go online to sharp-vision.com. That's sharper-than-e-vision.com. Official eye care providers of Sounders FC.
Choke Points with Chris Sullivan.
What burning questions do you have? You can help drive the conversation by going to mynorthwest.com or text Choke Points to 888-973-5476.
Tuesdays and Thursdays on Seattle's Morning News.
You probably know Valentine Roofing for, well, roofing. But did you know they do much more than just roofing? If you need anything addressed on your siding, gutters, attic insulation, or even exterior cleaning, give them a call. That's what I did. Hey, Jake Skorheim here. I had a huge moss problem. So while I was at work, Valentine Roofing came out, they got rid of the moss, and they cleaned up like they were never there. Afterward, I got a link with all the details and photos showing my roof now looking like new. Schedule your free estimate today by calling Valentine Roofing at 206-ROOFING or online at valentineroof.com.
I'm here with Jonathan from DUI Heroes to discuss an easy mistake to make when you get pulled over for DUI.
You don't have to perform voluntary tests like the standardized field sobriety tests or the voluntary preliminary breath test out on the roadside. They're voluntary by nature, which means you can simply say no thank you. You also can ask to speak with a lawyer immediately.
Which is where DUI Heroes comes in. 1-800-DUI-HERO or DUIHeroes.com, your DUI defense specialist.
Are you looking at senior living options for you or a loved one? If so, you likely have many questions like, what can I afford? How long will my savings last? And if I run out of money, will I have to move out? If these questions are weighing on you, I'm here to talk you through different solutions. Hi, I'm Amanda from Care Partners Senior Living. At Care Partners, we're focused on offering high-quality, compassionate care at very affordable prices to help stretch and preserve your assets. And if you ever run out of funds and need to convert to Medicaid, you won't have to move. We have vibrant communities throughout Western Washington, Spokane, and Arizona offering independent, assisted living, and memory care. Our caregivers are some of the most loving and genuine people you'll ever meet. Stretch your assets, preserve your estate, and never worry about moving. That's peace of mind in the Care Partners Living Difference. Learn more at carepartnersliving.com. Care Partners is excited to announce our newest communities in Port Orchard, Sumner, Snohomish, and North Creek Bothell. Visit carepartnersliving.com.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. It is an agonizing search in Texas with 160 people still missing from the floods. Chris Fox reports.
Kerrville Mayor Joe Herring called this a story of tragedy and of heroes.
The recent numbers reported break my heart, and they break the heart of everyone up here, everyone who's been working since July the 4th.
In Kirk County alone, they've recovered the bodies of 59 adults and 36 children, 5 girls and 1 counselor. sailor from Camp Mystic among the missing. Kerrville Police Sergeant Jonathan Lamb spoke of the heroics of his fellow officers that fateful morning.
They rescued people out of vehicles, out of homes that were already flooding, pulling them out of windows.
Chris Fox for CBS News, Kerrville, Texas.
3 people were killed yesterday in Ruidoso, New Mexico, after heavy rain sent the river rising to the highest level ever recorded. CBS's Chanel Call.
Officials are saying it could be days before services there are fully restored. We're talking about water, gas, electric power. So many residents there do not have access to those essential services.
President Biden's former White House doctor was called to Capitol Hill to answer questions about Biden's health while in office. Linda Kenyon has that.
Citing physician-patient privilege and constitutional rights against self-incrimination, Dr. Kevin O'Connor refused to answer questions from the House Oversight Committee. Dr. O'Connor was subpoenaed to testify as part of the committee's investigation into former President Biden's mental acuity while in office. President Trump has questioned whether Biden was aware of documents he signed with the auto pen.
Trump released a fresh set of letters to trading partners today, setting off tariff rates for them and reminding them a deadline is approaching. Russia launched more than 700 drones into Ukraine overnight, hours after President Trump expressed his frustration with Vladimir Putin and said he's considering sanctions. CBS's Weijia Jiang at the White House with details.
Senator Lindsey Graham and other lawmakers are preparing a new piece of legislation that would not only sanction Putin, but the countries that are doing business with Russia. And that's really why it matters, because there are already so many sanctions on Russia when it comes to the U.S. And you have to wonder what could actually make a difference.
Liz Palmer reports on the latest of the Gaza peace talks.
The clock is ticking urgently. Day 4 of the nitty-gritty ceasefire talks are underway between Israel and Hamas negotiators. They're in Doha in Qatar, and there are signals from there that there is progress on a deal that would last 60 days.
On Wall Street, stocks rallied today. The Nasdaq finished at a record high. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Get renter's insurance to protect the things that make your place a home, including coverage for theft or damage. Visit Progressive.com.
Coming up, a new wildfire threatens dozens of homes in Mason County. But first, we go to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, and we start in Bellevue, I-90 westbound, just east of 405. A collision blocking the right center lane. That is always kind of a trouble spot, so be aware that might build up quickly. Near SeaTac, a crash on SR 518 eastbound on-ramp from Airport Expressway, causing some issues right around SeaTac Airports. Other travel times right now, pretty much average, 45 minutes from Linwood to Seattle, though you do get a pretty good slowdown right now, starting at around Green Lake, very heavy through the U District and all the way past the Ship Canal Bridge into downtown. About a 50-minute drive up north into Everett, 405. You see those backups right around Canyon Park. It's Tacoma to Olympia, 47, and about a 30-minute trip now from Bellevue to Renton. This report brought to you by KIRO Newsradio.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Granillo. 2 wildfires are now burning in Mason County. One of them, north of Belfair, has triggered level 3 get out now evacuations. It is threatening about 50 homes. Norma Brock with Central Mason Fire says a second fire is burning above Lake Cushman.
It's burning about 327 acres up a really steep hill and rocky hill, so access has been extremely hard.
That fire started on Sunday. It was human-caused. We don't know yet what sparked this latest one yesterday. 13-year-old Everett boy is being hailed a hero after saving an 11-year-old stranger from drowning in Silver Lake. KIRO 7 TV spoke with Gage Bryant, who says he found that boy underneath a dock yesterday.
Made sure I wrapped my arm around his chest and his ribs and stuff, and I looked up and I was about 10 feet deep. Got him out and his lips were purple and blue.
Bryant did chest compressions on the boy before others jumped in to perform CPR. Everett Fire last reported that boy was in stable but critical condition. Trash collectors in Thurston County are striking for better pay and benefits from Republic Services. KIRO 7's Brandon Thompson reports the employees walked off the job this morning.
Republic says if your trash pickup is today, it's going to have to wait until next week. The union tells me they will be striking tomorrow as well if a contract is not reached for those Thurston County workers. Union members say what they are asking for in terms of pay is actually less than what Republic's competitors pay.
Republic says today's strike is also affecting trash pickup across King and Snohomish counties. A family walk along Dash Point State Park and Federal Way took a chilling turn when a man found a severed human toe on the beach. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey reports the body part was inside a wrapped-up box.
The Washington State Patrol is investigating. We asked Trooper Rick Johnson if he's ever seen anything like it.
In my 34 years, no. Definitely not something that we see every day, for sure.
The medical examiner is now looking for a DNA match. Also inside that box, a feather, burned grass, sage, lavender, and tobacco. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
Now to your weather forecast, brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Mostly cloudy today. Most of the rain has also come and gone, so drying out after a little bit of drizzle this afternoon. Tomorrow, the sunshine will return, highs back into the low 70s, and then 80s again on Friday. Right now, 70 in downtown Seattle. I'm Aaron Granillo, KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with a KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News. It's the all-new Jake and Spike Show on KIRO News Radio.
Welcome back to the show, and I want to thank Aaron Granilla for a verification on that story that Greg Tomlin brought in this morning. Yes. I didn't take it seriously. I not that I don't believe you, Greg, but when I hear from the KIRO News Desk, it's a real deal.
Yes.
And our audience participation came up with the idea that someone lost the toe and was doing a cleansing exercise, was one of the texters suggested, that when you put tobacco, burnt grass, sage.
I think you can do that with just apple cider vinegar.
Have you seen the picture?
I'm thinking lawnmower accident.
I don't know, man.
Was it?
I don't know. I mean, it looked like it was submerged in the water or something. It looked nasty.
It washed up on the beach at Dash Point. Someone lost a toe through accidental means, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And then was trying to find some closure and to cleanse the body part, as our texter suggested. So, yeah.
I don't think it's on our website, but if you go to the Federal Way Mirror.
Is that who's got the exclusive?
It's right there.
We're selling it to TMZ.
On our homepage.
Is it waterlogged?
Yeah, it looks gross.
Oh, that's nasty.
It's not pretty. Yeah.
I don't want to step on your toes here, but is this what we were going to lead with, this segment?
No, this was not. But when I hear from the KIRO News Desk, it's the real deal.
Okay, toe the line.
You got any more of these? I can wait all day on this.
Dip your toes in the water?
Shut up. So welcome back to the show, everybody.
I'm just keeping you on your toes.
Yeah. Don't make me put a foot up here. Never mind. Okay, thank you.
That one doesn't work.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it does.
Did not work.
Trust me. You're our big toe, Sergeant Hulka. Thank you very much. Okay, so last weekend, a video started making the social media rounds, and it was portrayed in loving tribute and respect. But when I saw it, it was literally heartbreaking because one of my rock and roll heroes, and Sophia, I shared a picture with you. If you could put it up on our YouTube feed right now. I come from a rock and roll background. As a kid, as a fan of music, the 70s, heavy metal. Up right now on our the Jake and Spike Show YouTube channel. I'm looking at this picture and I'm totally flummoxed. There's a photo from 1994. What you're seeing there, if you're joining us, is a photograph of my dear friend, the late Bob Rivers, host of the Bob Rivers Show at that moment in history with myself and Downtown Joe Bryan, our producer. I'm standing there wearing a 1993 All-Star Game sweatshirt and hat from the Baltimore All-Star Game that I got to go to.
I didn't recognize you without the facial
hair. That's clean-cut young Spike O'Neill at the tender age of 31 there. 31 years ago, so you do the math. But we were interviewing Ozzy Osbourne. This is in Bob's home studio. I mentioned to you on Monday, Greg, that we made a song parody called I Am Santa Claus for one of our Christmas albums, Bob Rivers Twisted Christmas. And we did an Iron Man parody called I Am Santa Claus. And Ozzy not only gave us his blessing, he was in town to tour and came out to Bob's house and helped us. We filmed him a little bit, and he's in our video for I Am Santa Claus. And Bob, being who Bob is, I'm sorry to sidetrack this because I'm trying to avoid playing Ozzy's last farewell show audio, which is just heartbreaking to me. We will play it in a moment. Bob asked Ozzy's management and Ozzy's permission. When I say Ozzy's management, I mean Sharon. She is a force of nature, Sharon Osbourne. Yep. If you're familiar with Ozzy's reality show, The Osbournes.
That was my first, I hate to say it, that was my first introduction to Ozzy
Osbourne. Yeah. So I was Black Sabbath, and then Ozzy Osbourne, his band, and his musical career, gave us permission to invite listeners out to meet Ozzy at Bob's house, at his home studio out in North Bend. And the big limo pulls up. And this was in 1994, 31 years ago. And Ozzy, who has lived a life of decadence, has celebrated decadence over the years, drug abuse and alcohol abuse and all the things that rock and roll does.
Was he the one who bit the head off a bird
bit the head
on
off
stage?
of a bat at the Alamo.
Ooh.
Someone threw a live bat, or what used to be live bat, on stage in the Alamo, and Ozzy, in a fit of rock and roll, stupor, bit the head off a live bat or a dead bat or recently deceased bat and spit it at the audience, and that became, notorious. So we had brought a bunch of listeners out to meet Ozzy. When he was there, Ozzy was very much, I don't know if he was suffering from the effects of his lifetime of substance and alcohol abuse, or if it was early onset, a medical condition. But 31 years ago, Ozzy could, barely couldn't speak very fluently or coherently sometimes, literally stumbled about and had to have physical assistance in walking from the car into the house, from the house down to the studio. Ozzy would literally had somebody under his arm to help him walk like he was at the time, he was a senior citizen.
He was probably late 40s at the time,
at the
or mid 40s.
Probably mid 40s at the time, probably so, yeah. I never forget one of the listeners, but he couldn't have been a nicer guy. Could not have been a nicer guy. One of the listeners who came to meet Ozzy said to Ozzy, "Look, my son was a huge fan. We're huge fans. Was raised in a house, and my son committed suicide recently, or no, a few years prior at the time. And the man produced a pocket watch with his son's ashes in it, and asked Ozzy, pulled out an electric engraving pen, and asked Ozzy to sign the metal pocket watch case with his son's ashes." And I was like, "All right!"
Whoa!
And seriously, plugged it in, buzzed out Ozzy in script across this pocket watch. That was Ozzy Osbourne 30 years ago. Ozzy's had a notorious and wonderfully successful, world-famous career, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member, yada, yada.
Black Sabbath sold 70 million albums.
I mean, they invented heavy metal. They literally pioneered the genre of heavy metal music. And Ozzy was world-famous and wrote some of the greatest songs of all time, great performers. That was Ozzy Osbourne 30 years ago. What am I hearing now? Ozzy's had a... I don't know why we had a little bit of a delay jump there. We got, did I swear? I hope I didn't say something and we jumped to delay. Okay. For you folks at home, welcome back. That little maybe that was in tribute of Ozzy, a little momentary lapse of sanity there. So we'd like to play for you now a clip from this last weekend where Ozzy performed live, and by all accounts it would be Ozzy's farewell show. But when you hear what Ozzy said, and I'm not doing this to poke fun. It's really it's sad and heartbreaking for me that Ozzy is still performing. And
well, I mean, he's 76 years old.
Yeah.
I think he's been dealing with Parkinson's since 2019. And to start the show, I think he was raised from underground, and he spent most of the show seated on a throne.
Big throne
while
with
he
bats
was singing
on it.
to tens of thousands of people. So it was sort of a bittersweet moment, a bittersweet farewell to this iconic heavy metal band that had such an influence and far-ranging influence on so many musical acts and just the music scene in general.
Yeah.
But he's past his prime, clearly.
That's it.
And so a lot of the songs being replayed just sort of brought back memories of the good old days. And really, there is a passing of the torch going on from generation to generation. I think some of my favorite rockers of all time are all approaching 80, right around 80 years old. My daughter and I just watched A Complete Unknown last night, the Bob Dylan movie. I think he's 84 years old.
Dylan is now,
still does a little bit of touring here, but that class of musicians, that generation of musicians, is really dying out.
AC/DC's on the road right now. They played the Northwest earlier this spring. We showed a video on our YouTube channel about 2 weeks ago of Angus Young on stage, and he looks like...
Is he still jumping around and hipping and skipping. And
he's still doing the little schoolboy outfits, but he looks like Gollum. He looks like one of the he looks like one of the bankers from Harry Potter.
Precious Gibson SG.
Can we play the Ozzy audio? We have that. Let's play a moment of that for folks. You know what? I'm changing my mind. I hope I sound that good at 76 years old. Good for you, Ozzy. Way to go out on top where you want to be on throne on stage with the crowd singing along to your music. Good for you. Well done.
It's a pretty cool event. I mean, it was a star-studded affair, too. A lot of other rock bands joined him.
As a tribute to him.
Axl Rose was there. Steven Tyler was there.
Singing the songs that he made famous and brought.
Yeah.
And the guitar players of his various iterations of his bands.
And you really think
stage.
this is the final show? Because a lot of times they say it's our last tour. I think I've seen The Who's last tour about 4 times.
I've been to 6 Who farewell shows.
Yeah,
well, I was about to say. And they're coming in the fall.
I'm going to go.
Are you going to go?
I have to.
I got to say, I had a moment about a month ago. My new son-in-law, John, has never seen The Who, loves The Who. And so it was talking about, I want to go. The Who's tour. And I, in a completely ignorant and talk about tone-deaf moments, said, I saw him in 78, and I don't want to blah, blah, blah. He's trotting out their 80-year-old beat down.
It's not The Who it leads anymore.
It's not The Who. And I don't want to go and see him. And I thought about it afterward. I'm like, what an idiot. What an a-hole I was. This guy, my son-in-law loves the same band. The Who was my band when I was growing up. That was it. I wasn't a Beatles or Stones fan. I liked them both, but I was a Who guy.
Yeah, so was my dad. That's why I'm a diehard Who fan today.
So it's how can I be so callous and dismissive of my son-in-law?
Okay, there's still time to get ticks.
We're going.
Oh, okay. Shh. Got it.
I'm gonna go. It was funny. I was talking to John Curley in the newsroom before this last segment, and I mentioned the Ozzy tape. It's like, have you seen the guy from? And he's talking about Frankie Valli. Have you seen that video?
Those are depressing to watch.
Yeah, because Frankie Valli is still touring, but at least Ozzy, as strained as it was for Ozzy to have that last moment on stage, Frankie Valli's wandering around stage.
Frankie Valli doesn't look lucid when he's given a microphone on stage.
And he's not singing. He's completely lip syncing.
He's 91 years old.
And he's still trotting it out there, and people are paying good money to go see.
And he's now a meme generator on social media.
It's almost elder abuse.
What I look like when I hit back to work on Monday morning, and then it shows him like trying to sing a song, and it's like you sort of feel bad for the elderly
it's
here.
Elder abuse.
But I remember seeing Chuck Berry, who was like touring in Moscow when he was like pushing 90. And it was just so sad. I was thinking, who is pushing him out there? The guy can't sing or play guitar anymore. He's just standing there on stage.
Like
drooling. Weekend at Bernie's.
Drooling in time.
Johnny B. Good style. And it's just very sad. But that's why I like these people that say, I'm ready to hang up my microphone or hang up the guitar.
You know that it's time.
Paul Simon tried it, though, and then Paul Simon, I think, immediately started touring again. Some of them, it's like oxygen for them to keep playing until the bitter end.
That's who they are. And maybe that's the case for Frankie Valli. Maybe without being in front of his adoring fans and having grandmothers throw their big underwear at you on stage.
Big underwear.
Who knows? Maybe it's who am I to
Granny
deny?
Panties?
Who am I to deny another man his life? His love. Yeah, but you know why people are clinging to the Frankie Vallis and the Ozzies of the world?
Because it's better music than
what
we're putting out today.
There's a band out there. Somebody turned me onto this band. 500,000 followers, and that's social media, right? It's a Velvet Sunset.
No, Velvet Sundown.
Velvet Sundown.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're not feeling them.
I listen to this music.
Okay. Has a little bit of a Zach Bryan vibe, maybe. 1, 2, 3.
Dust on the wind, boots on the ground, smoke in the sky, no peace found.
There's some grit here.
Rivers run red, the drums roll slow. Tell me, brother, where do we go?
Okay, I'm getting a little vibe mixing the band with Neil Young with some sort of modern production. You're not feeling this groove?
It's very derivative, right? That's a great description of it. Very derivative. It's nothing unique or original about this band. How do 500,000 people follow this band? I mean, again, I'm not denying anybody their fan base. I'm not into a lot of genres of music.
Do you want to pay off the twist here?
Sure, that's not a real band. No,
It's not a real band.
I know. I'm trying to sell this.
It's not a real band.
You got to be authentic. This, my friends, is what when you ask AI to make you a schlock rock song, this is what it spits out. But listen to how good that is. And
It's very convincing.
From
Spike.
that perspective, it's unoriginal. AI by definition is unoriginal. AI by definition is an amalgamation of all other information regarding any topic you pick. We played a song maybe 2 months ago. They asked AI to write a country song.
Mm-hmm.
Take the body of work of all of country music and throw it into ChatGPT or Grok or whatever AI engine you find most useful and effective for you, and it spit out a country song. Do you have that for us, Sophia? Play a little bit of that.
God made guns, God made beer. One's for drinking, one's for deer. God made Jesus, he made fishing. He made me an honest Christian. God made bump stock ammunition, country gravy and fried chicken. God made tires that keep turning. God made fire that keeps burning. God made country women sexy. God made country life the best. And God made whiskey, F-150s, long dirt roads that take me home. Cowboy boots and camo koozies, so my beer stay ice cold.
I think I heard someone blasting this on the 4th of July at the party I was at.
I think they played this at the fireworks show down on Lake Union.
Yeah, exactly.
That is such a... It's perfect.
Okay, but Spike.
It's perfect. That's the best AI I've ever heard in my life.
From one performer to another.
Uh-huh.
From one vocalist to another. Does this worry you about the future of music creation and music consumption? Because, again, the Velvet Sundown, this completely AI-generated band, has hundreds of thousands of followers on Spotify, is clearly bringing in some kind of money for whoever was responsible for generating this album. And it's like 10 or 12 songs. The images of the band are clearly fake, AI-generated. But is music consumption now just going to be something where it's all machine generated and people aren't any the wiser for it? And it's going to put musicians out of business everywhere.
I don't see that's the difference. I don't think it's going to put musicians out of business.
Well, not yet.
Well, I don't think ever. There's a big audience for everything out there. There's an audience for everything. No one. I love that Velvet Sundown has a song called "Dust on the Wind." I hope Kansas sues. Who do you sue?
That's just one letter difference.
Right? Who do you sue? Tell me that's not derivative. And the photograph generated by AI of Velvet Sundown is perfect. Look at these clowns. I mean, they're
ridiculous.
The perfect. If you imagine four, somber, sullen, white guys who make that kind of music, this is exactly what they would look like. Though I got to tell you, I do love that country song. I think that song is as good as a lot of the country music being sold today.
Oh, that's an insult.
Rod, listen to it. Play that thing again. To your point.
Yeah.
Will it replace country artists?
I think this is why, in my theory, is that live music is going to have a renaissance here in the coming years.
If it's live, if it's not a backing track.
Oh, I can't stand the bands that use the backing tracks where 90% of it is just hitting pressing play on it.
Skip the Frankie Valli show. Then you were.
Oh man, when I went and saw Daft Punk at the WAMU Theater, there's just guys in helmets bobbing their heads for 2 hours, and I was like, are they doing anything up there on stage?
Somebody hitting a button, and I guess there's coordination of hitting the buttons.
But don't you think this is going to renew or generate an interest in watching human beings play instruments and actually use their God-given talent and voices to perform in social settings, at pubs, at venues all around the place? Because you never know anymore. You can't trust your own ears when you're listening to something online. 10 years from now, this technology is only going to develop even more and become even more convincing. I think it'll be like, wow, I was just seduced by robots to this melody, and I need to go watch people do this.
No, to your point, yeah, I think this will help live music because I want to see you screw up. That's why AI will never be able to do this show. because you can't generate the mistakes that I make on a regular basis organically. But this is as good a country song as anybody in the country is making today. Yeah, baby. And the good news about this whole break is we never had to talk about Elon Musk and X's AI Nazi that they put out this last week. And what a horrible story that was. We may touch on that for just a moment. We got bigger fish to fry for you. We'll be right back after this. It's the Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tomlin. We'll be right back.
The first place you turn to for breaking news.
Protest outside City Hall.
KIRO News Radio.
James Lynch begins our team coverage live at City Hall.
Now, we are told by SPD that 4 people have been arrested for assault. For more on the counter protesters, we go to Scott Carty.
See a group of another 10 officers come down the steps.
Closures now extended from Washington closer to the stadiums.
KIRO News Radio on 97.3 FM and download the KIRO News Radio app to listen anytime.
This hour is brought to you by Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rireka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
What's the biggest mistake you can make when selling your home? Settling for less money. That never happens with Orchard. Disappointing offers can wear you down, causing you to settle for thousands less. You don't have to settle when you sell with Orchard. Orchard reinvented the real estate industry by guaranteeing your home sale and helping you sell on the market for top dollar. First, Orchard gives you cash up front so you can buy and move into your new home first, on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then once you're all settled in, your Orchard agent helps sell your home on market for top dollar. Here's what one Orchard customer said. I never could have sold without Orchard. I made way more than I expected, and it couldn't have been easier. With Orchard, you never have to settle for less. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Curious how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com. Orchard.com.
It started as a puddle.
Where?
In the shower.
Uh-oh.
Then the kitchen sink.
Started backing up?
Yeah.
I know where this is going.
Clogged up.
Right. No problem.
Beg your pardon?
There's no clog we can't clear.
You're Dan.
From Apollo Plumbing.
This is going to get pricey.
How about $83?
To clear my drain?
Apollo Plumbing clears main drains every day.
For $83?
$83 or it's free.
What's the catch?
No catch. We'll even do a camera inspection.
Why's that?
It's the best way to find the cause of your clog.
And it's included?
No extra charge. Truth is, we hate clogs.
I don't love them.
Seen them all.
Ew.
I promise, there's no clog Apollo can't clear.
Guaranteed.
83 or free.
Goodbye, slow drains.
All it takes is an accessible clean out.
And Apollo gets my drains draining again.
You call, we come, it's fixed.
My heroes.
Just doing our job.
Thank you, Apollo Plumbing.
ApolloPlumbing.com.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens has given me back clear vision. They've performed over 80,000 successful lens replacement surgeries. At Sharp Vision, you'll get the best price combined with the best experience. Sharp-vision.com. That's sharp with an E, -vision.com.
KIRO News Radio, 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon, I'm Aaron Granello. 160 people are still missing in the Texas floods as more search teams now join the recovery efforts. They include this Los Angeles County fire captain and her canine.
They're ready for it. This is what they train so hard for. Our handlers are incredible, and together they really do the impossible.
Now today, Washington Senator Maria Cantwell questioned President Trump's nominee to lead the National Weather Service over budget cuts and whether they may have contributed to the deadly flooding. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey has more.
Senator Cantwell pushed Trump's nominee, Dr. Neil Jacobs, on whether he plans to consolidate the Weather Service nationally instead of working with regional offices from flooding in Texas to tsunamis along the Washington coast.
Consolidating the data, not consolidating the people.
Okay.
I would love for the people to be more embedded in the community.
Thank you.
The death toll in Texas stands at more than 110 people. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
The CEO of the company behind Climate Pledge Arena is facing federal charges. Tim Leiweke of the Oakview Group is accused of bribing a rival not to bid on an arena project at the University of Texas. Oakview is settling with the Justice Department. It'll pay a $15 million fine. The other company will pay $1.5 million. Tagging graffiti in Seattle could soon cost vandals up to $1,500 per violation. Councilmember Rob Saka is proposing the fine in a new bill, saying many taggers are adults, not struggling teens.
We need to make this hurt for them financially.
If passed, violators could also do community service instead of paying the penalty. Scientists continue to monitor a flurry of tiny quakes underneath Mount Rainier. Harold Tobin is the director of the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. He says this is not something to be concerned about. However,
we're certainly paying attention. A storm like this is an unusual event, and we'll see how things develop. This is a very typical, if infrequent, event for Mount Rainier. It doesn't mean something bigger is growing.
He tells KIRO 7 TV more than 400 tremors have hit since early yesterday, none stronger than a 1.7 magnitude. Now to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk at 2:34. This report brought to you by Home Comfort Alliance. Well, no crashes slowing you down right now, just heavy volume and construction in certain spots. We're looking at about a 1-hour drive now from Linwood to Seattle. You really hit the brakes right around the U District, and you don't lay off them until you reach past the West Seattle Bridge, heading down to Tacoma to Olympia. That's about a 50-minute drive now. You got those slowdowns, those construction slowdowns near JBLM. 1 hour also from Renton to Puyallup, very thick between Auburn and Sumner. Bellevue to Renton, that's about a 35-minute trip, looking at about a 15-minute delay there. Lake bridges are okay for now, but seeing some traffic build on I-90 approaching Seattle. And almost a 1 hour drive now into Everett from Seattle or Bellevue. Get lower home energy bills, cleaner air, and year-round comfort with aerosol duct sealing. Starts at just $99 for PSE customers replacing their furnace or heat pump. Visit HomecomfortAlliance.com. Weather now brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Cloudy today and drying out for the rest of this afternoon. Tomorrow it is partly cloudy, highs in the low to mid 70s. Right now 70 in downtown Seattle. I'm Aaron Granillo, KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You know, elections have consequences. I'll never get tired of hearing that. And last election cycle, when President Trump sought and earned re-election, due in large part, credit goes to younger voters. Young conservative voters came out in numbers for President Trump. In fact, Trump won most demographics that he had lost in 2020. And younger voters seem to have always gotten the rap, deservedly, that they don't participate in democracy until this last cycle when young conservative voters came out. And I credit President Trump's campaign for knowing the platforms available to reach these young Americans and using those opportunities to get their message out to young, male for the most part, conservative voters. There's a movement now in various places around the country to encourage voters to get more involved, and by allowing them to vote at an earlier age. As young as 16 or 17. Right now, the Constitution says 18 or older, as American citizens, have the right to vote in our elections. In Maryland, not for federal elections, national elections, but in local elections like school boards and whatnot, 16 and 17-year-olds can vote, local council votes, can vote in Maryland elections. In California, back in 2020, it was voted that 16-year-olds could vote in their local elections, but that didn't go into place for 4 years until 2024. And I'm wondering, Greg, what your thoughts are on younger voters.
Well, what's also fascinating is that as recent as 1971 in the United States, the voting age was 21 until the 26th Amendment to the Constitution turned that into 18 years old.
If you're old enough to serve your country in the military, it was deemed rightfully so that you should be old enough to vote.
There are some questions you encounter in life where the answer should always be no. So as a parent, my kids say, oh, all my friends are doing it. And I say, well, if all your friends jump off a bridge, would you?
That's how I jumped off my first bridge, by the way.
Okay, answer should always be no. If I haven't downloaded TikTok already, should I do it? No. Should I develop a fentanyl habit? No. Should we lower
Do you equate voting to fentanyl use?
Should we lower the voting age?
Hell no. To the no. You've been waiting all day to play that. So let me ask you this.
It's a classic song.
So your response is no, 16-year-olds should not be given the right to vote.
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
Lack of maturity, lack of experience, lack of wisdom, lack of skin in the game. Teams have the highest unemployment rate in America. That group is doing less things for themselves and relying on others to do things for them. How do you think that impacts their voting choices? And when, again, we're making adolescence more perpetual and extending it as long as we can, we're also trying to move up a civic responsibility that is pretty weighty in nature to decide the future of the country. I think it's a terrible idea. I think it should still be 21.
Really?
So, unpopular opinion incoming.
So you said they didn't have skin in the game, the 16-year-olds.
Not as much skin in the game.
So I look at it completely differently with regard to the fact that their futures are decided by these votes.
But many of them aren't even paying taxes yet. Most of them.
Should you have to be a tax-paying citizen to vote?
No, but I'm saying it makes you a little more aware of the weight of your vote when you have to participate a little more.
What about school funding? We vote for whether or not how our schools should be funded. With 16-year-olds who are in these schools, shouldn't they have a say in how schools are funded with regard to voting in various?
No, children should not have a say.
Okay,
in how their schools are funded. No.
I tend to agree with you on a lot of the points you made. I really do.
What's your best case for moving it up then?
My best case for moving it down to 16.
Move it down, yeah.
The fact that it does encourage students to become educated and informed. I mean, it would take a campaign to make young voters understand how important it is, and we haven't been doing that. Maybe if we start them at 16, more of them will vote by the time they're 18. More than will vote by the time they're 21. You know, the under 25 voter historically is the lowest turnout of all voting blocks. until this last election cycle. I mean, notoriously, young people aren't involved. If you get them started earlier in voting and informed about and encouraged and excited about voting, maybe they'll start voting sooner. I think those would be positive things.
Do you think a 15 or 16-year-old was more likely to vote progressive or conservative on the ballot?
It's my initial response
overwhelmingly progressive.
All evidence to the contrary in this last cycle. The largest numbers came out in a conservative vein.
It ticked that other way a little bit. And yeah, maybe
do you think that
future
trend
trends,
won't
if
continue?
it keeps going in that direction. I just think it's whenever we talk about the age requirements for participating in a certain activity, it tends to be more partisan than not. So people that want to make guns more widely available and put them to use more usually want, the gun owning age should move up 18, 17, 16, whatnot. And progressives usually say, no, push it back, 21, 23, 24 for owning certain types of rifles, so on and so forth. I just think there's partially a political motivation to pushing this voting age up and up and up to, or down and down and down, however you look at it. Yeah.
No, I think you're right. And mostly, I am against this, by the way. Mostly I'm against it because of maturity and vulnerability to influence. You said, how would you getting someone's vote? What 16-year-old wouldn't vote as their parent wishes them to vote, or have a parent heavily influence them since they're living at home?
Right.
Being heavily influenced by their parents' beliefs or political affiliations to vote accordingly. It's basically an extra vote for whatever type house you live in for that particular ideology. I mean, it's an argument worth having. I think there are positive attributes to being encouraged to vote earlier.
If I had it my way, less people would vote in general. I know another unpopular opinion.
No. Let me ask you this, because I was about to kind of go down the same alley with you on this. Should there be civil requirements for people to cast a ballot? Should people have to be informed to vote? Should people have to pass a competency test to vote? I mean, I know that was part of the problem when there was voting restrictions and voting suppression. Was there were I don't know what laws there were. It wasn't Jim Crow, but there were voting laws. It may have been part of the Jim Crow policies that you had to be able to be literate to vote, not just a citizen whose the policies would affect you whether you could read or not. You had to own land to vote way back when.
You had to be male.
You had to be a white male landowner to vote initially, and we've evolved.
Yes.
We've evolved. Blacks couldn't vote, women couldn't vote. Kids, blah 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 blah.
I think we've settled in a good area, and I wouldn't rock the boat too much.
18, all citizens 18 and older, and so you're opposed
right. Serving in the military, 18, voting 18 seems to be. I just.
But you said you'd like less people. The stupid shouldn't be. Why not stupid? The uninformed, the misinformed shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Overall, in society, I wish we would work on maturing our kids a lot faster. I feel like there's a lingering with staying in that young mentality, that mindset of
elongated perpetual adolescence.
Yes.
And yet kids seem like they're acting like adults, even bad adults, a lot sooner. I love these kind of conversations. Greg Tomlin's in for Jake Skorheim this week. When we come back, we'll have the best of your texts. And boy, did you have a lot to say about what we said today. There's always time to get involved with the show. We appreciate your involvement. 888-973-5476 is the text line. You can also get involved in the live chat of the YouTube channel, the Jake and Spike Show YouTube channel. Find it at KIRO News Radio's YouTube channel or at mynorthwest.com. We'll have your takes coming up right after this.
Listen to the John Curley Show every afternoon? What does John listen to every morning?
I listen to Charlie and Manda, get my pot of coffee going, then turn on Seattle's Morning News, and I begin to build my show that way. And you want straight news without opinion, just giving it to you with the facts. There's only one place to go, Seattle's Morning News.
The perfect bookends to your daily commute. Seattle's Morning News and the John Curley Show on KIRO News Radio. Download the KIRO News Radio app to listen anytime.
There's no better feeling than finding a company that you trust and you appreciate the quality of work that they do. That's what happened with me when I found Integrity Roofing and Construction. I had the guys at Integrity first off do the insulation at my home. And they told me that my roof was in pretty solid shape. But when I saw the quality of work they did, the care that they put into my home, treated it better than I treat my home. I decided it was time to put a new roof on the house. The crew at Integrity Roofing and Construction came over, did an amazing job. They have a complete, wonderful, award-winning design and construction division at Integrity Roofing. It's not just a roofing company. But it's time for you to experience the top-notch service and on-site project management that makes every process easy. Give Integrity a call today at 206-202-ROOF. That's 206-202-ROOF or online at integrityrc.com.
Seattle Children's is leading the fight against pediatric cancer with groundbreaking research in immunotherapy. It reprograms a child's own T cells to hunt down and destroy cancer. It's hope, powered by science. But here's the truth. Pediatric cancer research is drastically underfunded. That's why Safeway is stepping up, and you can too. G. Scott here asking you to say yes to donating to Immunoheroes next time you're at Safeway checkout. Together, we can help fight cancer for all kidkind.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/fax or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Eric Johnson here. I spent the past 30 years working to help make our community better informed, better protected when it comes to consumer issues, and better equipped to take on whatever life throws at us. That's why I love the free Washington Accident book series from Davis Law Group. These books keep us better informed about the law, better able to protect ourselves on and off the road, and better off when all is said and done after an accident. Chris Davis didn't have to write these books. He did it because he saw a need. People who were in accidents or other legal situations didn't know what to do, what pictures to take, documents to request. Only a tiny fraction of the people who get these free books will ever become clients of Davis Law Group, but that's not the point. Chris wrote them because it was the right thing to do. The free Washington Accident book series is a must-have for drivers who want to be prepared for whatever the road might throw at them. Get yours at WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
I saw her texting, coming up to a stop sign, and so I saw the accident coming, and she T-boned us.
In the blink of an eye, Crystal's life changed when she suffered a severe spinal injury.
The pain was something I had never experienced before in my neck. I got massage therapy. I saw a chiropractor. I was prescribed muscle relaxers so I could sleep. I got depressed. Nothing was relieving the pain.
Drugs, sleepless nights, and depression. Sound familiar? I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist. At Sound Pain Solutions, our treatments include high-dose laser combined with spinal decompression and other comprehensive therapies to rehabilitate damaged discs. We use treatments that are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, drug and pain-free.
I was able to get off my pain medicines, and I was able to sleep through the night, and that was what I was desperate for.
To learn if you're a candidate for our treatment, call us. Sound Pain Solutions. 855-996-0025 or click soundpainsolutions.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Hey, that's the spirit. Right now, we're celebrating free with a free STP oil filter when you buy 5 quarts of oil and free Duralast brake pads when you buy 2 rotors. Like always, free battery testing, charging, and recycling at every store. Celebrate free at AutoZone, now through July 28th. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Are you road trip ready? Bucky's Complete Auto Repair will make your car safe and dependable with expert service and old-fashioned care. Brakes, oil change, factory service, and more. No appointment needed, and yes, friendly financing is available. Bucky's.com.
Hey guys, it's Keith Dashafi from Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington, and we are not done celebrating 100 years of industry leadership. For a limited time, get $100 off every window, $100 off every door, or choose 60 months of 0% financing with no interest and equal payments. That's right, 100 years strong, and we're giving you more ways to save on the Pella difference. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaPNW.com. Thank you again for letting us serve you in the Northwest.
Welcome back. We appreciate you guys being part of our day today and giving us a few hours of your life to share your points of view with us. Greg Tomlin and I are giving you our takes on the various stories of the day. We've had quite a bit to deal with today, and we always appreciate your input and your takes on the stories that affect all of us. We just did cover a question about whether voting ages should be lowered from 18 to 16, and Greg made a strong argument about maturity and about whether or not you have skin in the game to voters. And I know we didn't have a chance to include it, but Sophia, some text did come in about this. If you could share those.
Yeah, and not just about maturity, but also about, I guess, a child's ability to remain a child. 425 said, our office has a 16-year-old helping out this summer. I asked her how she was enjoying her summer. She said she was enjoying it, but she just wanted to be a kid a little longer. And 206 said, I keep hearing that a child's brain is not developed until the age of 26. Let's make that the voting age. And Cletus and Federal Way kind of agree that there should be an education requirement, not simply surviving to age 18. And 360 said, I think it's the parents' responsibility to introduce their children to different aspects of life, politics, church, traveling. When they're 18, then they can choose what to continue on their life path.
Well put. Those are great. Thank you very much. And he's right about the human brain not developing until the age of 26. There's a strong argument there. Nobody gets to vote till 26.
On a very different discussion on the masked ICE raids, Warren in Tacoma writes in, I have not heard someone make this point yet, but masking of the officers actually puts them at a higher risk from attackers. It dehumanizes them and it makes them an easier target because you're not attacking a person, you're just attacking a uniform.
That is a good take. 206 says, in 2008, ICE showed up at my house. They had no masks. They wore windbreakers with ice on the back. They identified themselves and had paperwork with my fiance's name on it. No long guns, no camo, no masks, no hard hats. They fingerprinted him and gave him his court notice. He is now a citizen. These men are endangering people and police.
I'll just say much different climate in 2008 compared to 2025 in many different regards.
Why? Let me ask real quick, why?
I think
is it purposefully a different climate?
The rhetoric has escalated. The danger for ICE agents has escalated a lot more. We just saw this again on July 4th. An official shot in the neck, ambushed by about 10 people in Texas. Some of these ICE agents are worried for their lives now.
Is that a self-inflicted higher risk because of the actions and the policies of this administration?
Well, but they're doing their jobs. I mean, they don't have much choice in the matter unless they want to leave ICE. I guess you're not coerced to work for them. Greg from Salty says, first off, masked ICE officers are about intimidation, not self-protection. Second, they haven't thought any of this through. Deport all the laborers and service workers, and they will screw up our economy worse than they already have. I think it's this government that is criminal.
You know, a lot of people think that if you take away the workforce, whether documented or not, it's going to have a negative impact on this economy. Hard to argue against that. On the national handling of disasters with regards specifically to Texas floods, Brian in Marysville says, FEMA is like insurance. I pay into Geico insurance for my car, but have never needed it. But others have. Like Spike said, I appreciate that. When a disaster happens, the state or community that needs the support needs it immediately. If in Washington we may not need anything significantly for 20 years, but good to know that it is there when the need arises.
And Kevin in the 425 with an alternate take. If you want to support people who live in known floodplains, great, do it. If you want to support people who build on a known volcano, great, do it. If you want to support people in known wildfire zones, it's up to you. Don't make me pay for their decision to take on risk for their cheaper homes. I buy and build in safe areas.
I would ask Kevin in the 425, do you feel the same way about the fence? I don't want my tax dollars going to bomb various countries or do other we don't get to choose. Well, we do get to choose how our tax dollars are spent every election cycle. So I hope that you vote accordingly. There you go.
On less children in Washington and more adults and more of an aging population, TJ in Shelton writes, I'm 53 and decided early not to have kids because I never felt I was in a position to afford it. Fast forward, I couldn't imagine having kids. Costs, school issues, laws that impede on raising children. To your views, so much to unpack here. Too crazy anymore.
Yeah, 206 in Shoreline says we brought 3 humans into this world without considering the need to add to the population. We never thought of how they could help us when we get older either. None of our 3 offspring will have children. They have always been extremely challenges. There have always been extreme challenges for humans, so I don't think the current state is a legislative reason or not. Well put. We are done for the day. Greg will be back tomorrow. Sophia, thank you so much for your help today. The John Curley Show is in next. Much more riveting conversation and deep, deep thoughts. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for joining us.
You listen to John Curley every afternoon? What does John listen to every morning?
Here's how I start my morning. Get my pot of coffee going, and then I turn on Seattle's Morning News. I listen to Charlie and Amanda. This is how I prep for my show, because I know those guys have, hundreds of years of experience, although Amanda looks better than Charlie. I'm going to get the straight news.
Experience matters. Seattle's Morning News, weekday mornings 6 to 9 on KIRO News Radio, 97.3 FM, and the KIRO News Radio app.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Oh, it is the time of the season for pests. That's right. No one likes them. No one knows where they come from, but we can all agree no one wants them in their